Um, Everyone, welcome to Manhattan Community Board 11's full board meeting, February 16th, 2021, 6:36 p.m. Calling the meeting to order. First up, we have our public session. We have our pre-registered speakers. We're allotted 3 minutes each. Typically, it's 2 minutes to present what you'd like to talk about, and then a minute for questions. I ask everyone to please raise your hands. The staff will be monitoring as well, helping me with that. Nilsa unfortunately couldn't make it tonight. She is our chair, but she sends her regards. Do we have up? I see first up Tracy Flynn, president of CC4. Is she with us, Angel?
Yes, Ms. Flynn is on the attendees. Hold on one second, Ms. Flynn. I will unmute you and promote you to panelist. Bear with me a second. Go ahead, Ms. Flynn.
Thank you so much. My name is Tracy Flynn, and I am a member of Community Board 11, live in East Harlem. And you know that feeling when you have a mosquito in your ear and it just buzzes and buzzes and it won't go away? That's what the helicopter situation is right now over our neighborhood and over Central Park. So I am asking Community Board 11 to consider passing a resolution supporting the Improving Helicopter Safety Act, which is Federal Bill HR 4880. There is a lot of support behind this. It was originally proposed by Congress members Carolyn Murphy, Jerry Nadler, Nydia Velasquez, and it's basically to ban non-essential helicopters. So that includes commuter, charter, tourist, and photography helicopters that just seem to hover over our neighborhood and over Central Park. And, you know, it's just a few people that might be going to the Hamptons, and it really kind of destroys peace and quiet in our neighborhood. So I feel like in this time of COVID, it's low on the priority totem pole, but I did just want to ask for your consideration on supporting this federal bill, HR 4880. And that's it from me.
Great, thank you so much. Ms. Flynn, do we have any questions from our board members? And seeing that there are no hands raised with our board members of our attendees, we don't appear to have any attendees with their hands raised. Great. Thank you very much for the presentation. I think this is something that we have discussed plenty of times at our board and with the borough president, as well as several of our elected. So thank you for raising it to our attention. I would recommend, if you haven't already, signing up to speak at our Public Safety and Transportation Committee. They can probably take this under consideration. Okay.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you. All right. Next up, we have Kalira Salas, Stop the Chop, is also speaking on the ban the tourist helicopter flights. Are they with us, Angel?
Yes, just a correction to my earlier note. I might have that in incorrectly. Kalira Salas is with the with CEC4.
Okay, CEC4. Thank you very much for that clarification. Kalira Salas, you're up.
Hi, thank you. Good evening. My name is Kalira Salas, longtime East Harlem resident and currently the president of CEC4. I just wanted to send out a shout out that we are currently, applications have been opened for members of the community to apply, parents of the community to apply to be part of the CEC. CEC4 is composed of 9 elected seats and 2 appointed seats by the borough president. And one of the things that's happened in the last couple of years is that we've had an underrepresentation from lots of the schools in East Harlem, and I would love for there to be more schools represented in that space. We have sent a flyer over to Carly so that she could circulate it, hopefully in your newsletter. But I'm asking for two things. One, that the community board send out communications to parents to apply, but also to encourage parents to vote. So this year, different from every other year, it's 1 vote per child. So every child that attends a public school in East Harlem, one of their parents can vote for a candidate. There will be a candidate forum in April that we will announce that people can come to meet candidates. And so they will have an opportunity to vote from May 1st to May 11th. And again, it's to increase participation. The other thing that I would ask for you to discuss and consider are 2 resolutions that the CEC has already passed. So Mr. David Giordano has them to grant amnesty to public schools. Public schools, because of under enrollment, a lot of them have to give funding back to the city. And so we want to make sure that our schools keep the money that they have, especially during the time of COVID, so they can provide resources for their students. The other resolution is for Albany, and it's for Governor Cuomo to actually fully fund our schools and use the money given to him as from the stimulus package to our public schools. It's $4 billion, which would at least alleviate the $3.4 billion that he already owes our public schools. So if the community board could advocate for that for our schools in East Harlem, we would really appreciate that. So I can facilitate those resolutions for you if David can't get them to you. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Salas, and apologies for that. I was reading my notes here. So does anyone of our board have questions for Dr. Salas? I see.
Sorry, Kathleen did ask what is CEC4? So CEC4 is the Community Education Council. It's composed of parents of children that attend District 4 schools. Every district has a Community Education Council of 9 elected parents, and they're parents that have a child enrolled in the public school system for the district until grade 8. Once your child moves on to high school, then you can participate in our citywide council. So there's a citywide council for high school, for special education, for District 75, as well as for English language learners.
Thank you very much. We have 3 board members, and in this order that I saw the hands go up, which was Michelle Wiltshire Clement, then Cindy Garcia, and then Nye Whitaker.
Hi, I wanted to find out, I have very bad lighting, I apologize.
That's okay.
I wanted to find out about, are you being penalized because the children have not been in the school? Is that why the low attendance, or is it because of remote learning and they are not turning on their devices?
No, so we actually have flexibility on that. District 4 for remote students, about 89% of the students are attending, and about 87% of children that are enrolled for in-person are attending school. So it's not about attendance per se. The schools are being penalized for under enrollment. So if the students that were enrolled did not come back into the school before October 31st, then those students that come below the projected enrollment of the school then has to return money that was meant for that student. And we have schools that literally owe tens of thousands of dollars back to the city that they just can't afford because they need to pay for substitute teachers to support both remote and in-person learning, and other resources for the students, mental health support, social workers, etc. So we're not being penalized for kids not logging on. There's actually different ways to record that and to keep that, to have students from being penalized for that, but we are being penalized for students that unenrolled from the public school system.
Thank you for answering that question. Thank you. Good question.
Can I ask a second question?
I
follow
need
up?
to, yeah, real quick, because I have to move to Cindy and Nye. Go ahead.
Those same children, did the enrollment improve after that deadline date?
No.
Okay.
It actually got worse.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Great questions, Michelle. Cindy?
Yes, hi. Good evening, Dr. Salas.
Hi.
Hi. I wanted to know if you have made, if your organization has made any contact with residents of New York City Housing Authority specifically, because, well, I've been made aware that a lot of our children haven't had access to the technology needed in order to have sign-on sheets.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I know that it must be very challenging to see and to know of students that have been or have had a good track record, but with this pandemic, it's made it difficult for them to show up. What efforts have you made in order to actually connect with students that may be possibly living within New York City Housing Authority?
Yeah. So we have a couple of parents that that are part of the public housing system that keep us informed. I will say that the CEC also passed a resolution asking for the city to provide free broadband for all students, and we've advocated for that at the level of the panel for education policy. And we have weekly meetings with the superintendent and always ask for her to have principals reach out to the students. There's a lot of confidentiality issues that we as a CEC cannot get involved with. Like, I can't get a list of students that are missing and do my own personal outreach because there are privacy issues with that. But we definitely, that's an active conversation that we're having. We've done outreach to the mayor's office as well as to other elected officials. I will say that last week, finally, the Department of Education told me that we have 0 outstanding requests for devices. There was a moment where we had over 1,600 requests for devices missing in schools. And now we're finally at 0. So we're constantly looking out, and we're working with our President's Council to establish a fundraising mechanism so that we can buy devices for kids in East Harlem. That's something that we're working on. As a CEC, we're not allowed to do fundraising, so I had to look for other partners, but we'll definitely elevate that and continue to do that work within our district.
Great. Thank you. Great question, Cindy. And please, Dr. Salas is no stranger to our Youth and Education Committee. So I would recommend attending since we're in a Zoom environment there. One last quick question from Nye Whitaker, and we're going to move the agenda along. Thank you for your understanding. Nye?
Thank you, Vice Chair. Thank you so much for your work on the CEC. I just wanted to follow up about $3.4 billion that's owed to our New York City schools, particularly in our Black and Brown and underserved communities, especially now that we have a new administration that's talking about allocating funding to help us rebuild after COVID. So I was just going to ask, I know you're working probably with David and Youth and Education, but if you could just share after this meeting any sort of email or information as to how we as CB11 as a greater whole, but also individually as voters and as residents and as parents, can help move that forward, and that we can finally see us receive that funding so that we can better serve our children. I would love to support you in that effort.
Yay, I would love that. So we did have a call to action about 3 weeks ago. 70 parents joined that call. We had educators, students, and principals testify about the need for funding for our schools here in District 4. We have a meeting set up with Senator Brian Benjamin, and we also have a meeting set up with Assemblyman Robert Rodriguez. But the more people that meet with them and push them, the better. So I will definitely make sure that
if you could please let us know when those meetings are. We would love to join and support. Thank you so much.
Perfect.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah.
Vice Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nye. Thank you, Dr. Salas.
Hey, Xavier, if I may just add that we have a current resolution in regards to that CEC took, and as Community Board 11 and Youth and Education did take a resolution last year regarding that. We rewrote a letter about a couple of months ago to follow up on that, and that's still one of our major agenda items to follow up on during this year. So,
great, thank you.
The support you want to give now, we'll trade support for human and health services for youth and education.
I got your back, bro. Thank you.
All right, thank you, guys. Very good. Please, now in a time of Zoom, you can attend all our committee meetings where we do the work there. Thank you, Dr. Salas. Appreciate it. Drop your information, all that, the resolutions and bills and whatnot in the chat. Okay, next, Angel, who do we have on doc?
That was the last of the pre-registered public speakers.
Okay, and we had no others register since we had been popping the link in the chat.
No other registries.
Okay, great. We're now moving along to our elected official reports. What I'm going to ask is if you haven't already signed up to speak, please, our elected officials and or your representatives, please alert our staff. Angel and Carly and Marlene, they're here. Alert them in the chat if you want to give a report. What we're going to ask for to keep things very expedient is that any event or service literature be sent to our office so that we may post it and share it as is appropriate. Please keep your report to 3 minutes and to be mindful not to repeat what others have already mentioned. So that's very important because oftentimes we tend to be the Department of Redundancy department. So who do we have up on deck? Is Councilmember Kalos here?
I do not see Councilmember Kalos yet. Wilfredo Lopez from his staff is there.
Great. All right, Will.
He'll be here in a few minutes. He's just finishing up another meeting, so we can move on to the next elected official. He'll come back and give the report.
Thank you, Will.
Thank you.
Next, Angel.
I believe I see Councilmember Ayala is on the line.
Okay. Councilmember Ayala.
Hey.
Okay.
No, she's there. We're just promoting her to panelist. She's on.
Okay, sorry.
There you are. Welcome.
Something was happening. Good evening, everyone. Hi, John. I see John and I see Xavier. I'll try to be brief so that way we have time to roll over. But Maggie, and I'm sorry, I know that we didn't announce that I was going to be here today, but I wanted to talk really quickly on a couple of things that are really important. So today was the last day for discretionary applications. If you missed the deadline and you still want to apply, please, we make exceptions, but we try not to do this. Reach out to Maggie or reach out to myself. In regards to the small business grant application, that deadline was also today. So I wanted to just share that after today, we'll have a little bit of a clearer idea of any residual funds that may still be lingering in that grant. And what we intend to do, and we've had conversations on doing, is offering, especially the restaurants that were forced to kind of close during the last 6 weeks, an opportunity to apply for a second round. So I wanted to just, to share that with you because I thought that was, it was exciting news. It's unfortunate that it had to happen, but it was a good thing that we still had some resources available in that pot to help some of these businesses that really need the help. I know that Maggie announced the handcuff bill last month, and there was some questions about the age requirement. So the handcuff bill is really intended. It is a bill that is intended to ensure that children or students in emotional distress, some of whom are, suffer from disabilities, and in an episode, the 911 will be called, they would be handcuffed oftentimes. And so this bill would prevent any student, regardless of the age, from being handcuffed while undergoing an episode of emotional distress. Now, if there's a public safety emergency, then that may be different, but this bill specifically speaks to that. We also just recently introduced a bill, a DNA bill. So the DNA bill was actually originated from conversations with the Legal Aid Society. And that bill would prohibit the NYPD from collecting DNA from minors without their consent or the consent of the parent or the attorney. So what was happening, and a lot of this was happening here in East Harlem, is that young men and women of color were picked up for whatever reason, brought into the police precinct. They were interrogated. They were offered a soda. They were offered a water. And once they left that interrogation room, that was considered abandoned property. And so DNA was then extracted from that abandoned property, and it was entered into a database. So we're in the process of, we've been having conversations with the NYPD about the database, which we don't think should exist in the first place. And they've made, any attempts to really reduce the number of people that are in it. So this would really just help codify what they're saying, they're intending to do in the first place. And then there was the mental health bill, which we recently announced last week as part of the reform package on NYPD that would create an Office of Mental Health that would be under the jurisdiction of the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, and would require that they come up with protocol on how to respond to mental health calls citywide. I think vaccines. So we've been meeting also with the city regarding the vaccinations in East Harlem specifically. We have the Health Action Center has been activated for quite some time. Unfortunately, not so many of our constituents have actually had success in getting an appointment there. And at this point, they're actually not even giving appointments because they were busy doing the second round and they ran out of vaccines. We've been working with the state. They actually had a vaccination day at Corsi Houses a few weeks ago. It was very successful. And this week we'll be working at another senior building. I can't really mention it. They're prohibiting me from mentioning which one it is because we're trying to make sure that it's for seniors. Huh? Did you have a question, Angel?
No, someone was clearing their throat. If you're not speaking, please mute. Continue, Councilman.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry, I thought it was you.
Carry on.
But we're continuing our conversations with the city. Obviously, we want to make sure that we get as many vaccines as we can. We were one of the most impacted districts. Our zip code is on the list of those communities that require special attention, and so we're working on that. So we'll be canvassing those buildings tomorrow, just to make sure that if there is any vaccine hesitancy issue that may be preventing people from getting the vaccination, that we're there to respond to any questions or concerns. I think that's pretty much it for now on my end.
Thank you, council member. Much appreciated. Do any of our board members have questions? Please raise your hand. Just as a reminder, raise your hand because there are other people who've dialed in and they can't see the chat and we have to register it in for the public record. First up, we have Stephanie Arroyo. Stephanie.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Ayala. I just have a question in regards to the bill that was signed in with the restraints. Against,
bill, yeah.
So I'm wondering, does that also prohibit them from using any type of restraints other than handcuffs, such as like like the plastic wraps and?
Yes.
Got you. Okay, that was my only question. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, I see a hand up, Jessica Morris. Jessica, your question?
Thank you, Xavier. Thank you, Councilmember Ayala. Would it be possible for public safety to follow up with you on the work you're doing, hear more in detail about the vulnerable populations and process that you're engaging with that? Would it be all right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I'm happy to come. If you want, I can come to your next meeting.
Great. Okay, good. We'll touch base and figure out what how to hear from you about that work. I think it's really important work. We want to hear more details. So thank you.
Yes, it's really it's good work and it's it's exciting. So I welcome the opportunity to discuss it further.
Thank you.
Great. We got time for one more from Michelle Wilshire-Clement. Michelle.
Hi. Yes, thank you. I still my lighting is horrible. I wanted to find out, did you say that it was all age students that would not be restrained, or did you give a specific age?
All students.
All students.
Yeah.
So until the age of graduation.
High school, the end of high school, that's right.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure on that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you, council member. I see that there are no other hands raised. Thank you so much for attending our community board meeting, and please keep us up to date with the budget process as well. We're going to need your advocacy for our neighborhood.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Angel, did I see council member Kalos log in?
Yes, Council Member Kalos is on the line.
Okay, wonderful. We'll just jump straight to him. Ben, are you there?
I'm here, and I brought Pandora. She says hi. I know that you're not here to see me. You're here to see the cat. So I want to thank everyone at CB11. I really enjoyed the budget committee, and I think you guys are amazing and fierce, and the mayor should be fearful. I wanted to share some of the work we've been doing. One of the first things I did when I got elected was try to start building a biotech hub in the district, and it took 7 years, and we got it done. Literally, is the first meeting I had. It's going to get $28 million in public and private funds. At Rockefeller University, it's going to be about 27,000 square feet, and I'm happy. I'm willing and happy, more than happy, to partner with CB11 to try to activate the Proton site if you're interested. We've been working for years. I co-chair the East River Esplanade Task Force with Congressmember Maloney. I want to thank Diana Ayala for her leadership. I see Assemblymember Robert Rodriguez, who will talk about his enormous work on the pier, because if he was not doing it, it would not have happened. We've now got another 284 million. The total amount of investment we've gotten for the Esplanade so far is $874 million. And so one of the key things is we've seen inequity in the works starting and completing. A lot of the dollars that got allocated at the same time, where I was securing money for the Upper East Side and East Harlem, the Upper East Side work started, but the East Harlem work didn't. So I want to work with the Parks Committee. I want to work with CB11, Robert, Diana, as many people as possible to get answers on it. And more important than answers is just getting the work done and getting the money spent. Another piece is dating back to, I think, Melissa, there's a sense that other communities can be doing more for the homeless, and that's absolutely true. In my district, we formed a task force for homeless outreach and services to help people off the street. The cost of sitting at the table with me is you have to be willing to build a homeless shelter or supportive housing across the street from where you live. Gail Brewer's a part of it. Senator Kruger's a part of it. I'm still working on building it across the street from where they live, but I've now built supportive housing across from where I live for formerly homeless women and children. And we're building a shelter on 91st Street on the Upper East Side. Community Board 8's committee voted unanimously in favor, and Community Board 8 voted 46 to 1 in support of a shelter on the Upper East Side. So I will tell you, there's now a petition against me and asking for it to go somewhere else. To the extent it is important, we'd love to have some of your love and support. That being said, I did open supportive housing on 100th Street in CB11, and CB11 was incredibly supportive. So we're going to keep doing it. Last month, we also we had a summer youth employment program. We want to make sure that every single child has a job guarantee each summer. Last summer, the mayor cut it down to 4 weeks and 35,000 people after canceling the program. After we held a rally with Jamani Williams and Gail Brewer, we were able to get 70,000 slots. We're pushing for 110,000 slots. That is the best way we can make sure that our kids have positive engagement this summer, and we'd love your help on it. I think that's some of the big stuff. We're going to be doing our annual State of the District. That's going to be this Sunday, the 21st at 12:30 p.m. and hope you can join us. And the last part is the City Council budget hearings are going to be starting in March. Because you're a community board, sometimes you need to pass resolutions before you can testify at hearings. During these preliminary budget hearings, the public is able to testify, I believe, at the end of each hearing. We'd like to make sure you have an authorizing resolution so that folks from your sanitation committee and budget committee can testify at the sanitation budget hearing, so that we can get more funding for CB11 for trash pickup. Similarly, whether it's, I saw from the chat, folks talking about summer youth employment. What I will tell you is typically community boards only testified at GovOps, which I used to chair. If CB11 wants to be fighting at the weight of an elected official, would be showing up at these budget hearings, making their testimony known ahead of time, and we will support you every way. For somebody Ava just asked about the summer youth employment. Would love to come before your youth committee talk to you about the program and would love to have a resolution in support and to have somebody come and testify and also organize kids in the district to do so. Thank you. I'm happy to take any specific questions.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions from our board members? Okay, I see one hand, Jessica Morris.
Thank you, Councilmember Kalis, for all that you're doing across the board and encouraging us even to come to the table and support at some of these hearings. My question or comment, I've circulated, I know the Esplanade is decades, generations in the pipeline, and it's still another 10 years off, essentially, in the way that things move, and that's just too long. How can there be some visibility and action in the near term to make sure that that doesn't fall off the radar? Again, I circulated a proposal to activate FDR as an open street, the 2 mile stretch from 96th Street to 125th Street. Last summer when we were in lockdown, it was a little bit too large of a suggestion to take up on, but I put it out there again as a potential for considering how we as a community might band together to activate the corridor, what we're not able to pass along right now as a safe right of way while emerging and recovering. So I will send that to your office. I believe I've sent it to Assemblymember Rodriguez and Councilmember Ayala. The borough president has had a look at it. It sounds a little bit crazy, but once you look at it, you'll see what I'm talking about. So
I hear where you're coming from, because right now it's a game of dodging and jumping over benches and things like that. I would say that the project is not 10 years away. When we got the funding in 2014, and then the Esplanade crumbled at 88th Street, and we cut the ribbon on it in 2019, and that was with a lot of delays. So projects should not be taking more than, honestly, it shouldn't take more than a year or two from fully funded to start and completion. And so the money is there now. I am hoping that as co-chair of the task force, I can work with you, with Assemblymember Rodriguez, happy to have Councilmember Ayala. We need to, every month, bring the Parks Department to give us an update on how things are going with the work to make sure that they keep the project moving. That's how you keep projects moving, and you just stay on top of them, because the squeaky wheel will get the grease, but you've already gotten, the money is there. They just have to do the work, and so we just have to get you out of the bottom. I see the assembly member would like to weigh in, because
Just to add to that, Ben, I think it's a great point that you make, is that now is really when the work happens. And, you know, we passed, I want to say 2 years ago, a little known bill called Design Build, which for exactly this purpose was to allow different departments, including the Parks Department, to be able to contract for both the design and the construction portion of projects just like this, so that we're not looking at 10 years. So I know that they probably have implemented it not too frequently since, but I think this project, especially the pier, is perfect for that kind of scenario. And I think our ability to be able to start advocating for them to say, okay, where's your plan? Oh, by the way, are we doing this project design build to get it done faster? Is one of the things that community boards are incredibly helpful with. And we gave them this authority on the state level, and most people probably didn't even know what it was when we passed it, but it was exactly with these kind of projects in mind that they can handle.
Thank you. Thanks for chiming in, Robert. I think that's a perfect segue, because I don't see any other hands up. Thank you, Councilmember Kalis, for coming on. Thank you for your question, Jessica.
Thank you. And just, if anyone needs help getting access to vaccines, all of our selectors are happy to help. I see we've been joined by the borough president as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for all your advocacy and your work for us. And I'm going to pass the baton. Thank you for your great question, Jessica. It's about us holding people accountable every stage of the way. So thank you for raising that. Assemblymember Robert Rodriguez, you're up.
Great, thanks, Xavier. And just wanted to chime in on a couple of things that we're working on. Of course, we're working on all things that are budget related. The governor has released his executive budget. We have, of course, are working on our Assembly and Senate one house budgets where we either accept or reject a number of his proposals and provide counter proposals. So in a number of different key areas, we're going to be rejecting his proposal and in different areas, both adding revenue, raising revenue and adding revenue, particularly in the areas of education and making sure that some of the proposed healthcare cuts and holdbacks that were done initially are restored. And thus far, for folks who have been following this since last year, you know, the Department of Division of Budget was holding back about 20% of every contract to take actions that might have been necessary during COVID. Since that time, based on some of the support that's coming from the federal government, 15% of those contracts have been restored. So, you know, you'll hear that from a number of service providers across the district. However, there's still this 5% that's pretty significant for all these providers that we need to get restored. Based on some of the initial conversations that are happening in terms of the approval of the 1.9 stimulus package, looks like there is a significant amount of support coming to New York State across the variety of different areas, including unrestricted aid to the tune of around almost $50 billion. But that may help us in the short term, but it may not help us in the long term. So it's important, you know, for us to kind of keep into context what's happening. All this is, you know, evolving as we figure out more of what the federal stimulus package is actually going to look like. We've got round numbers, but the devil is, of course, in the details, and in particular around the areas of rent relief, where that particular figure we have not yet seen the actual number. So we'll be following that because that goes in line with what has been talked about in terms of the $1.3 billion for rent relief that came in the December stimulus package, and in addition to the $100 million that the state put forward in terms of rent relief initially. So that's obviously a key focal point for us, trying to make sure we can help people who have been unemployed with rent relief. So we are working right now to formulate what that program looks like, how it supports state and city renters based on some of the guidelines that the federal government has provided, in particular to making sure that we target as a priority those folks who have less than 80% of AMI. So stay tuned. There will be more information on this, certainly over the next upcoming weeks, and we'll have an updated report on that next month, if not sooner. One of the things that we have been working on that comes directly out of the success of what happened in East Harlem during the pandemic is the work around World Central Kitchen. Since that, we had heard loud and clear from the East Harlem Restaurant Association about trying to find resources to be able to expand that program since it ended in December for the rest of the COVID period, or at least at a minimum through the summer. So we began circulating, at least amongst the state, to get state support, the I Love New York Restaurants program. So we're very, we're excited about it. We know it works. This is not a pilot program anymore. It has been done in various locations by the World Central Kitchen, but then also other municipalities took it upon themselves to begin similar programs. We heard about it in places like New Rochelle and Buffalo, where restaurants are supporting and addressing food insecurity through the support of government and private philanthropic sources. So we have something that works. So we've promoted and proposed $25 million for the state to contribute to this program today. And I think we've heard that an executive order was passed on the 5th of February that would allow federal dollars to be used in a similar way. So we're exploring that. We're excited about it. I think that executive order is supposed to facilitate its use rather than going through federal legislation. So, I think that there's hopefully an opportunity for local restaurants to use this as a pipeline to get back up on their feet until we reopen. So stay tuned for that. You'll be hearing more about our advocacy around that. Also, we have an ask to the governor to assist with senior technology, what we've heard, and certainly saw with the distribution of the NYCHA tablets, that there is a ton of demand and not enough equipment to help meet that demand, particularly for seniors who are disconnected at this point. So we're looking to put about $13 million towards hopefully addressing some of those senior technology needs. And then most importantly is the level of food security that we've seen in the district. I mean, I think everyone knows that all of our pantries are working at 150% of what they were doing before. And couple that with folks who are newly encountering food insecurity is a tremendous amount. So there's a big push to increase the amount of support going to HIPNAP, which is the funding program that comes via the state, and the New York Nourishing program, which helps with the food pantry support around that. So I think that touches on a number of different things. I'll certainly leave room for questions, but it is certainly the time where we are immersed in budget. And then and I saw something in the chat about summer youth, and we are pushing for a restoration of the state portion of summer youth as well. So it's on everybody's radar as being important, especially probably even more important during a pandemic.
Thank you very much for your report. Do we have any questions from the board members?
Yeah, and then just a reminder, thank you to the council member, both council members, because if not for their support, the $10 million that we secured from the state over the last 5 years, and I make the joke, I feel like I was scoring away $1 million or $2 million every year for the last 5 years to get to that 10. But that helped us begin a little bit of the seed, plant a seed, which allowed the bigger contributions to come in from the city to really help anchor the investment in the Esplanade and the pier. So I think that's an example of how perseverance and great partnership can hopefully achieve great results on behalf of the residents of East Harlem.
Wonderful, and thank you for everyone's
Xavier,
help.
can I just add that Robert was, and I this is why it's really nice, right? When we can all kind of come together around an issue, because literally he was following up with me every other month. He was on me like white on rice. Diana, have you spoken to the mayor about these resources? We really need them, and that consistency was really helpful. So I wanted just to say thank you to you for all of the years of leadership on this issue, because you've been doing this way before the rest of us, and we were just happy that we were in a position that we were able to help push it along, and that we're finally going to get to see this happen. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you, Ben. Question from Nye.
Just really wondering, sorry guys if it's hard to hear me, just really wondering, Assembly Member, what we can do to partner with you. Many of the items on the Health and Human Services portion of the budget our city agency partners were in agreement with us were priorities, but they were saying, because of budget cuts, couldn't be funded. So we had a large conversation about what we could do from the state side to make sure that we include funding in the budget specifically for East Harlem and communities like ours that have been really hard hit for COVID, but for which we can't afford additional cuts to our services to our youth, to our seniors, to our physically challenged, et cetera. So just wondering what we can do from the CB11 side to support you as you fight for us, upstate as the Albany budget, starts to go into effect, or I guess budget negotiations start to go into effect.
Well, it's a good time. I think let's definitely get together and share those priorities, because now is absolutely the time for us to advocate for them. So I definitely want to have those front of mind and while we're out or we're advocating. So that is on our to-do list, hopefully for before the end of this week.
Wonderful. Great question. Thank you very much, Assembly Member Robert. I don't see any other hands raised. So thank you very much for attending. Good to see you all. We're going to go next up. Let's see. Do we have, is June Soto from Senator Serrano's office on?
You have the borough president.
Yes, no, I'm aware she's next after.
I can wait. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. Happy Tuesday. So earlier in the month, the Senate passed bills designed to address gaps between healthcare outcomes. One of the bills passed included the senator's bill to require that medical professionals receive thorough cultural competency training. Also, in the beginning of the month, the governor signed into law the Senator's bill prohibiting the use of herbicide glyphosate in state parks and lands. We still have mask and sanitizers for any individuals or groups in our district. So if you would like to contact our office, again, it's 212-828-5829. I also want to announce that we will have a new rep for Senator Serrano's office here at CB11. She is on with us. Her name is Suad Hassan, and she is the Director of Community Affairs. So for now, I think it'll be both of us. Possibly at some point, it may only be her. But I just wanted to introduce her to everyone. And her email address, I will put in the sidebar chat.
Okay. Could you just say it out for those that have dialed into the meeting who don't have access to chat, please?
Sure. It is S Hassan, HASSAN.NYS@gmail.com.
Okay.
Or Hassan@nysenate.gov.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Are there any questions for June? Okay. See it that there are no hands raised. Thank you very much, June. Pleasure. And please encourage Senator Serrano to pop on by to our community board meetings for full board to present. Okay.
Will do. Thank you.
Thanks. Next, we have Nina Saxon from Comptroller Scott Stringer. Nina, are you
I will yield to the borough president.
I
The borough president
beg.
should go before me.
Jesus Christ, who's my friend? Xavier, go ahead. Let Nina talk. I'm fine. I do other things while I wait for y'all.
I know. I'm just always taught that electeds always go first again.
Well, unteach it.
Really quickly, because
she
I
had
don't
to
want to
train
take
me
up.
up too, Nina. Thank you very much for your respect in that. So, but
Go ahead. Nina, go ahead. Go ahead.
I will be extremely fast. So the controller unveiled a comprehensive food security plan to combat hunger in New York City. Offers immediate total local and federal recommendations to close gaps in emergency food programming. The creation of over 25 million city-based emergency food program to serve undocumented New Yorkers left out of federal and state safety net programs. A shared delivery zone program that centralizes neighbors' food deliveries to meet online retailers' minimum purchasing requirements, expanded SNAP outreach and purchasing power, and increased halal and kosher food options. So I will send the report tomorrow if Angel doesn't have it, so everyone, so it can be sent out so everyone can look at it. I just want to let everybody know when the controller was borough president, CB11 was very instrumental with Go Green initiative, and about no food deserts, that when he was borough president it was a really big deal. So for him to be controller and to do this comprehensive plan about food security is a really good plan. I would love for everyone to look at it. And lastly, tomorrow is our annual Trailblazers award ceremony, where we will it's via Zoom, so I will send the flyer. It's going to be with Congress member Jamal Bowman. Just FYI, quick fact, Jamal Bowman came out of East River Projects, so even though that he's a Congress member in the Bronx, he came from East Harlem. And this, we will be celebrating actual teachers from different schools for African American history. So I will leave that flyer as well, so if anybody wanted to come, that's all I have. Thank you so much, and I will be here for the rest of the meeting.
Thank you, Nina. Always a pleasure to have you with us. Are there any questions for Nina? I don't see any hands raised. Thank you very much, Nina. That concludes. Angel, are there any other electeds who have?
Yeah, just one more. I believe Nina Norwood from Assemblymember Dickens' office is on the line.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
Yes, hello everyone. Thank you to Community Board 11, to you, Mr. Miskane, and to everyone else on the call. I'm going to be very brief. Again, my name is Nina Norwood. I'm the Community Liaison for New York State Assembly Member Inez Dickens' office. The Assembly member has been quite busy with dealing with the COVID vaccine information side for the community. She has done a couple of events around that. Our most recent one was on January 27th. We did that in conjunction with Manhattan Neighborhood Network. The name of the event was COVID-19 Rollout, What You Need to Know. We was joined by Assemblymember Roderick Rodriguez, as well as Assemblymember Al Taylor, along with 3 other very distinguished panelists. It was a great conversation. Anyone that was able to be on, I would like to say thank you very much. For those that were not able to join us, you are more than welcome to view the segment in its entirety on the Assembly Members Facebook page, as well as Manhattan Neighborhood Networks page as well, their Facebook page. You can watch the segment also on your local Spectrum or Optimum channels. So you can take a look at that. It was a lot of great information shared about the COVID vaccine and what the community, needed to know as far as questions that they had to ask. And we also have an upcoming event with Senator Brian Benjamin's office. That's going to be on Friday, February the 19th. That's also going to be a COVID-19 vaccine town hall, where again, we're going to have a number of great panelists. They're going to be on to share as much information with the community as possible and answer as many questions. We have a flyer that is going to become available within the next day. Should be ready about now. We're going to be sending out a mass email blast. Mr. Miskane, I have your email address as well. I'm going to be blasting it out to the community as well as the senator's office. Again, as I said, we're going to have a lot of great information shared. So I'm hoping that everyone in CB11's board will be able to join us. So for anyone who does not have my contact info, I will include my email in the chat. You're more than welcome to reach out to me, and I will make sure that you receive the flyer. We're also going to be posting that flyer on Assemblymember Dickens's social media platforms, as well as going to be on Senator Benjamin's social media platforms. So very much, please keep an eye out for that. And thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to speak this evening to you, Mr. Miskane, and to Community Board 11 and everyone that's on the call. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Could you say your contact information real quick for us, for those that are dialed in?
Absolutely. Again, it's Nina Norwood, Community Liaison, New York State Assembly Member Inez Dickens' office, and my email is nnorwood25@gmail.com. You can also reach me at the Assembly Members District Office, which is in the Adam Clayton Powell State Office Building, and our number there is 212-866-5809, and we're available Monday through Friday.
Okay, wonderful. Are there any questions for Nina? I don't see any hands raised. All right. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Great evening. Do we have any other elected officials or representatives from the elected's office in attendance, Angel?
I don't believe so. If there are any that I haven't recognized their names, please raise your hand before Mr. Santiago moves the meeting along.
Just me, I think, that's it.
Well, you get your own section, Gail.
Yeah.
I know, I don't want my own section.
Too bad.
Love it. All right. Well, seeing that there are no hands raised, we're going to move along to the Borough President's report. Gail?
Thank you very much, Community Board 11. I think the main issue is the vaccine, as you know. So every Tuesday at 3 o'clock, and you're all welcome to join us. This is the third week, we have a discussion with, I don't know, some 250 people joining to talk about what's happening in the borough of Manhattan. And today there were a couple of topics. First of all, the mayor has indicated that when Johnson & Johnson is available, we are going to be going door to door for the 20,000 estimated seniors or disabled homebound. And the question is, who is going to do it and what's the plan? Because with all due respect, and it's the state, it's the city, it's all of us. We don't always have plans in advance. There are a couple of interesting facts. Some of those who deliver food have a refrigerated truck. So it would be very easy for them to do the work. That would be one example of planning. Another example of planning is, what is the status of those who are delivering the food? Shouldn't they be vaccinated at the same time or in advance? And the same thing with the home health aide. So what is the plan? And that I could go through many other aspects that came up on the phone call today. And there will be I believe there is I think the council member knows there's a hearing tomorrow with the technology committee in the city council, the health committee, and the aging committee. I don't need to talk about the technology because I think you know some of the challenges. But anyway, just to say one example of planning. The second, of course, is NYCHA. Generally, we had some excellent examples when a nonprofit community-based organization supported the effort in the development. So in the Lower East Side, as an example, Hamilton Madison called literally 400 seniors to come down and get a vaccination, and that worked. The same thing in East and West Harlem. If you have a person who is part of an organization, then it works. We had some examples. I don't want to take poor NYCHA under the rug again because I can keep doing it, but there were some examples in East Harlem where nobody showed up because nobody had made the connection, and we got on the phone and we found 130 people in 2 hours trying to get them to have the opportunities. We had to call teachers, we called senior centers, and I'm sure others on the call helped. But that's not how to go about getting vaccinations. So what I'm trying to say is, as we plan for the seniors homebound and in general, and maybe Johnson & Johnson is soon available, then we certainly need to have a community-based organization working. That seems to be the best method. Right now, obviously, the folks at the New York Presbyterian are doing that. They're working with community-based organizations. So I'm just saying, God help us, we don't have any more pandemics. But we do need to have, if this is going to be an annual shot, which is what I'm hearing from others, I don't know if that's true, like a flu shot, annual shot, except I'm not too good on the flu shot, but I'm certainly going to be very good on the COVID shot. So we have to have a plan for the future, and we have to build it now so that it's constant. Second, we learned today the schools. We asked several of the CECs, Board 4, Board 5, what's going on in the schools. And I think you probably know this, but it's another issue for the board to consider. The seniors want a shot. They are adamant about it, but parents are not. And so what's happening is the parents need to still be convinced, understandably, when their turn comes, or perhaps they have older relatives living with them, that this is something that they want. So the schools are, open in quotes, but as you know, anybody who's got kids in the schools, they're often closed because somebody's understandably got COVID. So it's the schools are not finding, the CECs are not finding that the school situation is working well vis-a-vis COVID. You can talk about all the other challenges, and I could go through them. So the vaccination is so complicated in terms of getting it right. And I have to congratulate my staff and those who have been part of this weekly discussions, 1 hour, and then it's over. We make it short, but we pack it with information. The New York Academy of Medicine, a great institution in East Harlem, has done incredible maps of where the seniors are, where the sites are, and they're going to layer it, obviously those of us who love GIS, with the data that came out today from the Department of Health, obviously showing the small number of persons who have gotten the vaccines in communities of color versus communities that are white. So that also will be you should be very proud of your local institution because they really do have a great GIS team. So on the vaccinations. In terms of police reform, I have no idea exactly what the city is going to recommend to the governor on April 1st. But you know that the governor, is going to accept and be adamant about getting every county's suggestion by April 1st. And April 1st is like around the corner. One suggestion that the borough presidents and the police department talked about the other day, I don't know, I was probably the most, I wouldn't say negative, but most, I don't know if this is going to work. And I think the board should weigh in on this topic. The issue that was mentioned sort of briefly by the mayor when he had that day when he made like 100 different suggestions on different things, which makes me crazy because I like to focus and get something done. But one of them was that at first he said the precinct councils would interview candidates for local commander. At the recent meeting, I learned that the community boards are going to be involved, the elected officials, obviously the precinct council, and there were other, perhaps clergy, perhaps business. It is something, Xavier and Nilsa, that the community board should look at. I don't know how this is going to work. You have several precincts. I think it's always good to have precinct commanders whom you can work with. Don't forget, they change every 2 or 3 or maybe 5 years. So that's an awful lot of discussions and interviews and so on. The administrative work might be done by the police department. Anyway, I just mention it because it's going to come up perhaps. And then since we not too good at planning in advance, then it might not be something that goes well. So since you are a terrific board, you might think about, is that something that you want? How would it work? Who are the players and the stakeholders, et cetera, in the community to work on that? I also just want to mention, I don't think helicopters, it comes up every once in a while. We are, thanks to April Adams in our office, again, this is not something that is #1 on your list as a community board, although people in Central Park complain. And when the Esplanade is done, they'll probably start complaining about it also, because whenever helicopters are hovering over parkland, it's hard on the people in the park, and of course the people in the helicopters just like to take pictures, which is very irritating because they could take pictures elsewhere and they don't have to hover over our parks to do so. These helicopters are coming from New Jersey. Today we had a fabulous meeting with some of the mayors in New Jersey, and they too get complaints, not as many as we do, but the good news is they want to work with us. So we're going to have a task force, which I've never done before, with New Jersey and New York, trying to figure out how we can work together. I think I mentioned before, Manhattanites are going to New Jersey, getting on a plane, meaning a helicopter, coming to New York, hovering, taking pictures and putting them on Instagram. It's not necessarily tourists because we don't have many, but there may be some. And when the tourists do come back, if we don't do something about this, we'll have a lot of such pictures. We cannot, in the city of New York, tell New Jersey what to do. Right now in the city, if there's a helicopter, and I don't love this, flying out of the downtown heliport, they have to stay on the Hudson River. But we cannot at this moment tell New Jersey what to do. So they do, they hover over the park. And that's a big challenge. So I simply now want to just say, as you know, the date is February 22nd for the board to finish their applications for membership, and for new members the same. And then, you know, there are dates coming up for the schools and nonprofits and parks to apply for funding. Congratulations on the East River Esplanade. I know that when the Assembly Member Rodriguez and I spoke, I had like such a small amount of money in that project that it was like 250,000. It was like, I don't know, the pier alone went into the millions, and it was nothing that could help. So between all of you, you have managed to come up with a tremendous amount of money, the mayor, the council member, the assembly member, and it's fantastic. Esplanade Gardens is another big ticket in terms of their bulkhead. And I am appealing to the congressman because it is a resiliency. I don't see any other way to get the 18 million, which is what it will cost to renovate it. But they obviously have, God forbid there should be another Sandy, then that bulkhead is not going to survive. So at some point, I think a resolution, if it's appropriate, from the board, I'm certainly writing the letter to the congressman. The congressman is aware of it. The co-op association, the co-op board is quite concerned. They're obviously doing renovations, but this 18 million is not in their budget. So I want to mention that as another East Harlem issue. Thank you very much. And thank you, Isabel, also for putting information in the chat from our office.
Great. Thank you, Borough President Gal Brewer. Are there any questions for Gal? I do not see any hands raised.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Have a great evening. Okay. All right, now we've concluded our first part of our meeting. We're going to move on to our business session for those members of the public. This part is for board business. Questions and discussion will be limited to those board members in attendance. Angel, if you would be so kind as to call the roll.
Certainly. Board members, when I call your name, please answer present. Jose Altamirano.
Present.
Stephanie Arroyo.
Present.
Adem Brija. Adem Brija. Rakeem Brooks. Rakeem Brooks. Yolanda Brown is excused. Eva Chan.
Present.
Ann Collier.
Present.
Carlos Diaz.
Present.
Angela Donadell.
Present.
Jessica Elliott.
Present.
Jose Encarnacion.
Present.
Judith Febraro.
Present.
Raja Flores. Raja Flores. Sandy Garcia.
Present.
David Giordano.
Present.
Joe Goldblum.
I have the standard.
Joe Goldblum.
They span dozens of pages. And what's not in here.
Folks, if you're not speaking, please mute yourselves against interference. John Green.
Here.
Robert Harvey.
Needs for social advocacy. Those words are.
Robert Harvey.
You will not find the word math anywhere.
Jada Heredia.
Present.
Ivy Hume.
Present.
JP Kamwa. JP Kamwa. Amy Quiroz Petrucci. Amy Quiroz Petrucci. Marissa Mack.
Here.
Giselle Malave.
Here.
Patricia Martin.
Here.
Francis Mastroda.
Present.
Malik McCullough. Malik McCullough. Jennifer Meyer.
Present.
Jessica Morris.
Here.
Nelsa Rama.
Excused.
Thank you. Andrew Padilla.
Here.
Arturo Perez.
Present.
Celia Ramirez. Celia Ramirez. Don Sanders.
Here.
Xavier Santiago.
Here.
Jeremiah Schlotman.
Present.
Isaac Scott. Isaac Scott. Russell Schuler.
Present.
Vincent Torres. Vincent Torres.
Presente.
I thought I saw you. Jason Villanueva. Jason Villanueva. Stephen Villanueva. Stephen Villanueva. Candy Vasquez.
Here.
Nye Whitaker.
Present.
Michelle Wiltshire Clement.
I am here, present.
Jason Wu.
Present.
We have quorum.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Angel. Great. We're going to move along to the adoption of the agenda. And what we're going to do is we are going to move to have the meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office. It was posted online. And if there are no objections, we will adopt the agenda as stated by unanimous consent. Board members, if you object to adopting the agenda, you may raise your hand through Zoom. So if there are no objections, we are adopting the agenda for tonight.
Good. Motion.
Okay, Thank you. And if there are no objections, I see no hands raised. We'll move this portion of the meeting along. The agenda has been adopted. On to our chair's report. Angel, did you receive a chair's report from Nelson by chance?
I have not received the chair's report.
Okay, all right. Thank you. And we'll move along to the district manager's report.
Sure. Sorry, just give me a sec.
Yep.
As mentioned by Borough President Brewer, the deadline for community board applications and reapplications is February 22nd at 5 p.m. There's a link in my report to the application. Those members, existing members whose term is set to expire in April, are required to reapply if they wish to continue their membership. That also applies if you were appointed last spring for a one-year term. If you have any questions about the application process, you can contact Rosie Mendez, Director of Community Affairs at the Borough President's Office at 212-669-8135. The rest of my report is for informational purposes.
Great. Thank you very much, Angel. And moving along here, we have our officers' reports. Very briefly, I've been attending a lot of Zoom meetings like the rest of us, especially dealing with the 125th and 110th Street, the opioid crisis. We're also working in tandem with our council members and our assembly member to assist those that are homebound and finding tenable solutions. Can't mention it enough. This is the one point will be repetitive. Please get your application in. I spoke to Rosie today. And she said there's still a lot of outstanding and the numbers have been down as in past years. So please get it in ASAP. We will be reaching out to you to find out if you desire to continue your service. Also, Rosie and I spoke about their confirming schedules with the Borough President's training series. They're going to queue up conflict of interest board, parliamentary procedure, city budget, and more. So we're really going to push this term. People plug in because it will be virtual, but stand by for that information. It'll be forthcoming. They're just trying to coordinate the attorney schedules for the trainings. That is all I have for my report at this time. Thank you. And we'll move on to the treasurer's report. I still don't see Jason on. So if you received that information, you should have reviewed it. We will say that is for information purposes only. And do we have any report from the secretary? Judith?
Not at this point.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Moving along, we're going to move into our committee reports and action items. First, we're going to hit our action items, which are our licenses and permits. Has Adem joined us at all, Angel? I don't see him.
Sorry, I was muted. No, he has not joined yet. I did want to share, you had asked me to alert you, that Senator Chuck Schumer will be joining us in the next few moments.
Okay, in the next few moments. Okay. So
I'll let you know when he's on.
Okay, thank you very much. What we will do is we will, do you want Judith or I can go through the items listed here? I'd like to bundle these all to accept the recommendations as approved by the committee. So I can read them out until Senator Schumer arrives, if that works, because I don't think Judith has her computer on. I think she's dialed in.
Go right ahead.
Okay. So number one was FFRC, including doing business as Triple Garibaldi. It was a new application for a full liquor license for a restaurant located at 2061 2nd Avenue in New York, 10029, 106th Street. The committee recommends the application to be denied. The application was withdrawn. The motion to deny was made by Carlos Diaz and seconded by Angela Donadell and passed unanimously. Number two was Me Come Door LLC, doing business as Crispy Bird. It was a new application for wine and beer cider license for a restaurant located at 170 East 118th Street, New York, 10035 and 3rd Avenue. The committee recommends that this application be approved. Motion approved made by Celio Ramirez, seconded by Judith Ribeiro, and passed unanimously. Next slide, please. Number 3 was Solnoshka Inc., doing business as Cassava House, new application for wine, beer, and cider, license for a restaurant located at 2270 First Avenue, New York, 10035 is 117th Street. The committee recommends that this application be approved. Motion to approve the applicant's request for wine, beer, and cider license without the use of the restaurant's backyard, made by Carlos Diaz, seconded by Celio Ramirez, and passed unanimously. Number 4, Cascalote Latin Bistro Inc., doing business as Cascalote Latin Bistro, was a renewal application for full liquor license number 1283481 for a restaurant located at 2126 Second Avenue, New York, 10029 at 109th Street. The committee recommends that this application be approved. Motion to approve made by Carlos Diaz, seconded by Celio Ramirez, passed unanimously. Next slide. 5, Sunshine Carnival, number 556141 street event, March 26, 2021. Setup is at 12 a.m. Breakdown April 4th, 2021, 6 p.m. East 109th Street between 2nd and 3rd Avenue. Street closure, sidewalk, and curb lane closure. Applicant was Juan Ramos. Sponsor, Sunshine Sports Club. The committee recommends that this application be approved. Motion to approve made by Celio Ramirez, seconded by Angela Donadell, and passed unanimously. And great. So we are bundling all 5 of those real quick for to accept the committee's recommendation. Do we have a motion to bundle all 5 and support of the committee?
Motion to bundle all 5 and accept the committee's recommendations.
That is Vincent Torres. I asked you guys, please just raise your hand so we can I can see who's doing that. So I have a motion by Vinny Torres. Do I have a second? I have Stephanie Carlos. Stephanie?
Second.
Okay, please call the roll, Angel.
Everything. Jose Altamirano. Jose Altamirano.
Yes.
Hey, folks, we're getting a lot of interference. If you're not speaking, please keep yourself muted.
Yeah, Judith and Carlos, just make sure you're muting your phones, please. I see the box lighting up. Carry on, Angel.
Stephanie Arroyo. Stephanie Arroyo.
Aye. Sorry. Aye.
Thank you. Dembry is not here. Rakeem Brooks is absent. Ron Brown. Bichan.
Aye.
Dan Collier.
Yes.
Carlos Diaz.
Yes.
Angela Donadell.
Aye.
Jessica Elliott.
Aye.
Elsie Encarnacion.
Yes.
Judith Febraro.
Approve.
Roger Flores.
Yes.
Josendi Garcia.
Yes.
David Giordano.
Yes.
Joe Goldblum is absent. John Green.
Aye.
Robert Harvey.
Oh, shit.
Excuse me. Please mute yourself. John Green.
Aye.
Thank you, sir. Robert Harvey left early. Jada Heredia. Jada.
Aye.
Thank you. Ivy Hume.
Aye.
Thank you. JP's absent. Amy's absent. Marissa Mack. Marissa.
Yep.
Thank you. Giselle.
Yes.
Patricia.
Yes.
Francis.
Yes.
Malik. Absent. Jennifer Meyer.
Yes.
Jessica Morris. Jessica Morris. Did she leave? Okay, I'll come back to you. Nelson's absent. Andrew Padilla.
Yes.
Thank you. Arturo Perez.
Yes.
Sonia Ramirez is absent. Xavier Santiago.
Yes.
John Sanders.
Yes.
Jeremiah Schlappman.
Yes.
Russell Schuler.
Yes.
Tony Torres.
Yes.
Jason Villanueva. Stephen Villanueva. Candy Vasquez.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Candy. Nye Whitaker.
Yes.
Michelle Wiltshire Clement.
Yes.
Wu.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you very much, everyone. Next slide, please. Great. We're going to have Human Services, our Chair, Nye Whitaker. Nye, just real quick, just in case Senator Schumer joins us during the moment, if you can try to keep it as condensed as possible as we go through your report, okay?
Yes, thank you. I'm happy that Senator Schumer is joining us. He was great on the CB10 call back in December, so I'm happy he's made his way to CB11. Just really quickly, 3 quick updates from us so that I can keep it brief. First and foremost, we were happy to welcome our chair, Nosa Arama, to our committee for a discussion about next steps surrounding the draft resolution, calling for either a pause or moratorium on possible future sightings of drug rehabilitation, maintenance, and or single occupancy adult temporary housing. So that will be revisited at the March meeting. We had a standing presentation on COVID update from the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, New York City Test and Trace, and the East Harlem Health Action Center. Just want to remind everyone to please stay vigilant. The numbers are decreasing across the city, but of course we have certain pockets by zip code that are seeing a rise, mainly because they are home to stuff like frontline workers. And so just to let everybody know that if you are looking to get tested, there are get tested Tuesday events every week hosted by New York City Test and Trace, as well as several sites in our district where you can get tested for free, particularly at our health and hospitals locations. And if you're looking to get a vaccine, that you can check the vaccinefinder.nyc.gov or call 877-829-4692 to schedule an appointment. And there are also a number of elected officials across our district who are working to help people to get appointments should you need assistance. Just want to remind everyone that the East Harlem Health Action Center is one of our key locations for information, and that is led by Padmore John. And he gave us a website for a new dashboard that gives information about new positivity rates in our district. It's a pretty long link, so I will be sure to drop it into the chat, but just to be sure that everyone's paying attention, zip codes 10029 and 10035 for information. And then what was originally discussed already is that there's a new pilot going into public housing as well as into senior centers to make sure that we are getting vaccines to those most in need, which was already discussed. We had a presentation by Borican Healthcare Center. We had a presentation from Plan about a new diabetes prevention program. And then we took action on the comprehensive care request for a letter of support. I've actually never had to present our motions to full board. So Angel and Xavier would look for what to do next steps, but we did have a motion to write a letter in support of the Center for Comprehensive Health Practices, which has been in our district for over 60 years and serves predominantly people from East Harlem, in their application with the Office of Addiction Services and Support, actually known as OASIS, to remain a provider in East Harlem. It was, the motion was made by Pastor Isaac Scott and seconded by Osendi Garcia, passed unanimously. And just for context, this site has been located in Metropolitan Hospital for many years, and Metropolitan Hospital now needs the space. So they've been like a subtenant within, and so have given them notice, and they would like to make sure that they remain in East Harlem so that they can continue to serve East Harlem.
Okay, Thank you very much, Nye. I see a raised hand by Diane Collier. Diane.
So I was at this meeting and I need you to help me understand. When you say remain a provider, they are a methadone clinic. My understanding from what I have heard that there have been issues surrounding them as a methadone clinic for the neighboring community down there. My other concern is that it doesn't, this particular action item does not include any kind of condition where whenever they're cited, wherever they decide to be cited, the neighboring community gets involved as to whether or not this is appropriate in their community. We are having such an issue, particularly in the northern portion of East Harlem, where people are demanding to minimize the amount of providers, methadone providers that are coming into the community. The second thing, as I understand, because I know what's going to be said, is that they provide wraparound services. I understand that they provide primary care. I understand that they provide, I believe, pediatric care. The issue I'm having is it's a methadone clinic, and the fact that it does not say anywhere in here that the community where it's being cited would have an opportunity to weigh in. So just help me understand.
Vice Chair, sorry, but because of my connection, I actually wanted to get to one more item, which was our items related to our comments on the budget. So I don't know if you want me to discuss those or if you want me to take the questions on this motion first.
So I think we have before us. Diane, those that are not speaking, please mute yourself.
There's just a lot of background noise, Diane. I'm not excusing your question. I hear it on the floor. I'm just saying that I wasn't finished giving the last item of my report, and I just want to make sure that I'm doing this in the right order.
So please, if you would please address the items for the budget very succinctly, then we'll come back to the question from Diane.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Chair. Diane, thank you for your patience. And last on our item was the budget. And so we reviewed our tracker of the items that were listed, many of which the city agencies were in agreement with us that they should be a priority, pretty much in a category 5 or greater, but which there was an overall statement that they were unable to provide any additional services or service expansions or guarantees at this time because of budget constraints related to COVID. To which overall, there were some specific comments about our HIV services, increasing intervention around homelessness and substance abuse, as well as support for our seniors, those who need mental health assistance, and those who may be disabled or shut in. To which we said that we would increase our outreach to providers across CB11 to increase awareness about the programs that currently exist, as well as to advocate with our state legislators and our congressional legislator around fighting for funding from the federal and state level to make sure that we can continue to support and or expand those services on the city level. And that was the end of the report.
Great, thank you very much, Nye. So back to the question from Diane Collier. If I heard correctly, the question was, why was there not time given for members of the public to participate in the discussion? And the meeting, our chair, Nelson Rahman, did attend. This service center had been in the community in the southern half of the district for about 60 years. And they did attend to answer questions presented by the committee and for those members of the public in attendance. And what was your other follow-up question, Diane?
So in all due respect,
can I do that question one at a time? So Xavier, can we do that one at a time? It's a lot. Yeah.
I want to clarify, Nye, what Xavier, the vice chair, is saying. My question is not about basically my question is how come, not about the public being there. This is very broad to remain a provider in the community. This is a provider of methadone. And it does not provide a provision in here whereby wherever they're planning to be cited for that community to weigh in. When I say cited, it could be anywhere in East Harlem. You're saying anywhere in East Harlem. And I would like to know how come we did not put that language in there to allow the community that is going to be impacted by the move. That's all I'm asking.
Nine.
Am I allowed to respond? Okay, great.
Yes,
Just want to
you are.
make sure. Okay, great. So two things I want to respond to, and I think they're separate. One is a question about protocol and process, and one was a question about the language used in the support motion. So in regards to protocol and process, Diane, I'm not sure if you were there, but that was the second presentation that this particular provider, CCHP, had done. So when I first came on as chair, they did a very lengthy, almost like 45-minute to an hour presentation where the committee members had a chance to actually talk to them in great length about the services that they provide to the community and to get a greater understanding of what their footprint is in the community, who they serve, how they serve, you know, et cetera, et cetera. This was their second time coming back in front of our committee, you know, with this request. At the second time that they came, we did ask for people to raise hands to have their questions and or comments elevated. And we did call upon people that raised hands. We did say that we were not going to be using the chat function because the questions needed to be via raised hands to make sure we stayed on schedule because the budget was the priority, but also that because this was their second time, we wanted to make sure we were staying on topic and weren't redundant to many of the questions and conversations that previously took place. So that's the procedural part. And that was announced on the record at the start that that was going to be the process, that if anybody wanted to be recognized, they had to raise their hand and would be called upon.
Hello, everybody. It's Chuck Schumer, ready to be recognized.
Yes.
Go ahead and let, please, the floor is yours.
Everyone, I'm going to hi, Senator Schumer. Everyone, please welcome our senator from one of our two from the great state of New York. Senator Schumer here is here to present
Hey, Chuck.
Information.
Hi, everybody. How do I get to see everybody? I just got this human services thing in front of me. I like to see people's faces, Javier. Is there a way to do that? I don't know how to do it here. Let's see. Standard.
You should probably go to your view setting.
View. Side-by-side gallery. Doesn't have side-by-side speaker.
If you can't see them, it's because they don't have their camera on. It's nothing you're doing. It's what we're doing.
Okay, but here we go. Thank you. Hi, everybody. I like to see people. All right, well, thank you very much. And I want to thank Nilsa, our great board chair. And I want to thank Angel, our district manager. And thank you for listening to me and giving me a little time. I try to talk to every community board once every 6 months to let them know what's going on and what's doing. So I appreciate your time. And I want to thank you first, you great community board members. I'm a community person. I started off as a tenant organizer. I ran against the Democratic machine in Brooklyn when it was a big, powerful machine. And so I know what it's like to be a community person. And, you know, let me say, when things go wrong, you hear it from everybody. When things go right, no one says thank you. So I want to say thank you. Thank you to all of you for the good work that you do. You all have jobs, you all have families, you all have the up and downs of life that God visits on every one of us. And because you believe in East Harlem and Community Board 11, and because you believe in New York, you're doing this. So thank you, because no one's paying you to do it. No one's telling you to do it. You're community people, and you're what gives me faith in the future of America and New York. So I thank you for that. And I thank you for you being in this great board of East Harlem, which is so diverse and has so much potential and is the future of New York. If people in your Community Board 11 can't advance and have a future, we may as well hang it up. And my job is to make sure that they do. So what I'd like to do is talk to you a little bit about what's going on in DC, how it might affect your community, and then spend time answering questions. Is that okay? Who's running the meeting? Nilsa, Angel, or Javier? Is that okay, Javier?
It's absolutely fine. Xavier is fine.
Xavier, oh, you're not Javier.
No, I un jota.
I am not Carlos either. Okay. So first, I thought I'd go over a little bit of what happened to me on January 6th, because it's what America's all about. I would call it, there was a book by Charles Dickens, A Tale of Two Cities, and I'd call it the best of times, the worst of times. Why was it the best of times? Well,
January 5th was the elections in Georgia. We knew if the two Georgia senators had won, that we would take back the Senate. It was an uphill fight, but we had hope. So I watched the TV all night Tuesday night, and Tuesday night bled into Wednesday morning, and I'm still watching the TV, punching the computer every 10 seconds to see what the new numbers are. Finally, at 4 a.m., they said that John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock had won. Raphael Warnock lived in your district for a while. He was the deputy pastor of the Abyssinian Baptist Church for a few years, you know, Dr. Butz's church in Harlem. And I think he lived over in East Harlem, he told me. I recruited him. I tried to get Stacey Abrams to run. He didn't run, she didn't run, but she said there's someone as good as me, Raphael Warnock, and he won. Okay, so they win, and I am filled with joy. If you've ever worked hard for something over a long period of time and finally achieved it, you know your first reaction is joy, holy moly. Or as we would say, if I'm allowed to talk Brooklyn, holy shit, I won, I'm there, wow. But I had a second reaction about 2-3 minutes later, and I would call it a reaction of awe. What do I mean by awe? I don't mean awesome like my daughters used to use when they were teenagers. Oh, Dad, this is awesome. Awesome in the biblical sense. When the angels saw the face of God, they trembled in awe. This job had so much responsibility. We have so much to do in America to undo all the terrible things Trump did, and even the things before Trump did that we didn't take care of, that I realized what huge responsibility was on my shoulders and the shoulders of my Democratic caucus, all 49 others of them. So I was sort of trembling in awe, like the angels trembled. So those two emotions mixed in me. I went to bed at 4:30, got in the car at 7:30, drove down to DC. I'm on the floor of the Senate at 1 o'clock for my first time as the putative majority leader. And within 45 minutes, a police officer with a big bulletproof vest and a big submachine gun, huge, strapped across his waist, grabs me by the collar, not harshly, not, meanly, but harshly, strongly. Senator, get out of here, you're in danger. Capitol was being invaded by a bunch of white, secessionist, horrible, racist pigs. That's what I call it. And they ran me out. And I don't know if any of you watched the tape of the impeachment trial, but they had a tape of me. I didn't even know they had taped it. I was walking in one direction to get away from them. And then all of a sudden you see me turn around and run in the other direction. That's because these bastards were within 25, 30 feet of me. Had one of them had a gun, I wouldn't be talking to you today. But so I got safe, but I want to tell you, we are going after them. We are going after them big time. I've told the Attorney General, every one of them should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law and go to jail for a very long period of time. Both because that's what they deserve, and that's so they discourage anyone else from doing it. Okay. And then we impeached Donald Trump because he was the cause of this. We know that. If there was no Donald Trump, it wouldn't have happened. I'm glad we impeached him. We should have voted for conviction. Not enough Republicans had the courage, but I think we've shown America what a bad, evil person he was, the worst president we've ever had. So that was my January 6th, the best of times, become majority leader, the worst of times, insurrection, almost near death. Okay. 2020, what a year. 3 horrible things happened all at once. First, the COVID crisis, which was the greatest healthcare problem in 100 years. Every one of us knows people who have died. Every one of us. And every one of us knows lots of people who are still sick. A huge problem. And it created one of the greatest economic problems that we've had, the greatest since the Great Depression. How many people lose their jobs, can't feed their kids, can't pay their rent, can't do what they need to do? How many people have children who can't go to school and they don't know what to do, stay home or go to work? How many people are exposed in their jobs and have to go to work? So much economic crisis. And then the third crisis was the awful deaths, the murders of Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, which showed the racial scars in America are still deep and bloody. So 3 bad things. But God works in mysterious ways, beautiful ways. 3 good things happened at the end. 1, we got rid of Trump. Good riddance. Good riddance, Donald Trump. I'm so damn glad you decided not to live in New York. Florida can have you. The second good thing that happened was the vaccine. The vaccine is a modern miracle of medical science. And it works. My parents are 97 and 92. God has been good to me. I have very old parents, but they're okay. When they said it was okay to have people over 85, we gave them the vaccine, they're fine. And I know communities of color are very wary of the vaccine because they've used people of color as guinea pigs in experiments. But that didn't happen this time. This is a good vaccine. And I would urge everybody, hello, Robert Rodriguez. How are you? I see you in a little square there. I would encourage people to get it and encourage people to get it. And here's the good news. The third good thing that happened are the two COVID relief bills, the one we passed in December and the one we're working on now. And we have put enough money, everyone gets the vaccine for free. Don't let the insurance company tell you got to pay a deductible or a copayment, nothing. It's all free for everybody. And in the second bill, the bill we're trying to pass right now, the federal government will take over, set up sites all over New York and all over the country where people can line up. No requirements. These requirements get in the way. Stand online for 4 hours. Oh, you're 64, you can't get it. Or, oh, your pre-existing condition was diabetes. That's no good, whatever. So everyone will, and the federal government under the bill we're going to pass is going to set up sites all over. And guess what we put in? Communities of color and poorer communities go first, not last. So you will get sites and people can go and get the vaccine. And the hope is by the middle of the summer, enough people will have had the vaccine that we'll be back on track. Very important. So the third good thing we did is pass this COVID relief bill, which not only had vaccines, the one we passed in December and the one we're going to pass now. And I'm going to combine the two because we're going to pass this damn thing. Here's what's in it. Here's what's passed. We got $600 payments for people. That's not enough. The new bill makes it go up to $2,000. So anyone who didn't get any gets $2,000. Anyone who got one gets $1,400. And it goes for a family. So if you're a family of 4, you'll get another $5,600, a total of $8,000. That's going to help people. That's going to put money in people's pockets, people who need to pay the rent, people who need to feed their kids, people who have lost their jobs, and everybody else. If you make below $75,000, you get it for a family, for one person. If you make over $150,000, you get it for a family of 2 or more. This is a good thing. Here's another thing we did in the bill. We extended the unemployment benefits. We want it in the new bill to go to 400, but it's now 300. Here's something very important for your members of Community Board 11, your constituents. $25 billion in rent relief. The federal government will pay the rent relief. We gave the money to the state, but we told the governor you can't use it for anything else except helping people pay the rent. And now I'm working with the No Rent group to make sure the regulations are clear and easy and don't favor the landlord, but favor the tenant. And there's a moratorium that we're going to have till September that no one can be kicked out for not paying their rent or their mortgage if you own a house. We got $13 billion in SNAP funding, money to feed the hungry. Lots of money there for the first time. And here's 2 things you may not know that we got in there. One is Pell Grant eligibility for people who are incarcerated. Well, a lot of young men and young women are in jail. They want to make a better life for themselves, but they can't because they have no money. Now they can sign up for a community college course and get the courses. This is huge. I need you to spread the word on this. People don't know it. People don't know it, but it's a great thing. And the other thing we did, it pains me. I am an emotional person. I'm from Brooklyn, we are very emotional over there. And I see these videos of parents and grandparents saying goodbye to their children and grandchildren because they're dying of COVID. They can't hug them. They can't kiss them. They can't be with them. They can't hold their hands as they say goodbye and die. Horrible. And then what's even worse, or adding insult to injury anyway, these people are poor. They can't afford a funeral or a burial. So I actually worked with Congressman Ocasio-Cortez, and we put in the bill that now people get $7,000 to pay for a funeral or burial. And if you did it in the past year, if you get the money, you had to pay, you had to scrounge, you get the receipt from the funeral director, you'll get $7,000 retroactive. If you're going to do it this year, we make it $7,000 forward. You got to help me spread the word around here because people don't know a lot of this stuff. And I will send you, if that's okay, Xavier, excuse me, a sheet of all these things that you can distribute to every member of the board, and then you can distribute to the people you know or the organizations you're part of. We got $4 billion for the MTA, so they didn't cut back on subways or buses. We got money for education. 69 billion in the first bill and now 170 in the second. We want every school to open up, many in the next few months, but every school to be totally open and healthy and safe in September. Because it's really rough on families who have the kids and have to work. We got 10 billion for childcare, and listen to this, this is going to affect East Harlem a lot. We got 7 billion for broadband access. If you're a person that can't afford broadband, the federal government will pay. You need it for your kids, you need it for your life, etc. This is the biggest bill since the New Deal. It's real money for people who need help for the first time ever. Now, we haven't passed the whole bill. We got to get the effing Republicans to help us pass it, but we're going to do it without them if they don't, okay? And then there's money for small business. Every small business, the PPP program is extended, but here are two things people don't know, and I want you to help me with this too if you can. This is getting the word out, folks. One is there's money for all nonprofits. Nonprofits are 20% of our economy. The nonprofits help feed the hungry, help house the poor, help do the community work. They can get the PPP program. And second, even the churches can get it. If you are a member of a church, the churches are hurting. The heads of the AME churches and the Baptist churches and even the Catholic and the Evangelista churches came to me and they said, we have no money because there's no one's going to church. There's no collection plate, you know? And we're going to go under. And we're needed more than ever because we do a lot of the social services, helping the elderly, helping the children, feeding the hungry. We got the money. The churches can apply for the PPP. And then we got $15 billion for what's called CDFIs and MDIs. I don't know if you know what they are. Community Development Financial Institutions, Minority Development Institutions. They will help our small businesses, our nonprofits, and our churches apply for this money, okay? Because these, you know, you're a little barber shop, you're a little hardware store, you're a little tobacco shop. Well, they don't have those anymore. You're a little magazine store, whatever they call them. We used to call them candy stores when I was a kid. But you don't have a banker. You may have a bank account. You don't have a banker. You don't have a lawyer. You don't have a big shot accountant. Now these groups will help you apply. This is big news, and a lot of money can flow into East Harlem, but we just need to get it there. So these are all the things we did in this bill, and they're very good things in the bill. In the new bill, as I said, we're fighting. The one thing that wasn't in the old bill was money. This is for you, Roberto Rodriguez. Money for state and local governments. They have no money. They would have to lay off so many workers. I got a lot of money for our hospitals. One of the best jobs in New York are hospital jobs. So many immigrants, so many people of color work in our hospitals and get paid a decent salary because of the union, $11.99. We got more money to keep them going so they don't have to lay off workers too. So please help me publicize these things, okay? I will get you information and you just get it out. Many of you are heads of little local community groups and know people. I need to get the word out on these things so we actually get the money in people's hands. Okay, a couple of things legislatively, and then I'm going to do questions. How many of you have some student debt? Elizabeth Warren and I, look at all that. Elizabeth Warren and I want Biden to forgive $50,000 in student debt. Forgiven, gone. Very important. He can do it without legislation, the flick of a pen. Do you know 40% of all the student debt is people of color? The greatest reason there's a wealth gap is that Black and brown people have more student debt and don't get rid of it quicker than white people. We can get rid of it, but I'm promising, I spoke to Joe Biden with Senator Warren. We need 10 million signatures or emails or tweet, you know, whatever you send to, I am going to get you a sheet. Please spread the word. Okay. Very important. That will be huge. Second thing I'm trying to do is decriminalize marijuana. I think we can get that done. And what we do is expunge the records. And we say the tax on marijuana should go to small businesses of people of color because they paid the greatest price. You know, you know what the marijuana law is now? Getting arrested for marijuana at the federal level is as big a penalty as getting arrested for heroin or crack or cocaine. It's ridiculous. It's from the 80s. And a young man gets a little marijuana in his pocket, gets arrested, has a very severe criminal record, and can never straighten out his life. We want to change that. So that's the second thing I need your help for. And we want to pass comprehensive immigration reform. A full pathway to citizenship for all 11 million, documented or not. You know what a shot in the arm that would be for our economy? Once these people don't have to look over their shoulders and worry about deportation and can get a job, they want to work, they want to be Americans. So we're trying to get that done. Those are the three things that are on the agenda in addition to these bills I talked about, that if you could get behind, I would appreciate it very much. And I think that's it. I've talked a lot, but there's a lot to talk about. And now the other thing we want to do is a big infrastructure bill. Listen to this. You're going to like this. It's $1.5 trillion infrastructure bill, both green, to help us get a green climate economy. But 40% of the new jobs created go to people who don't have jobs, people who have been incarcerated, people who are getting minimum wage. Construction jobs are good paying jobs. And you don't need a PhD in macroeconomics to get one. This will be a huge ladder up for people. And that's our second bill that we're trying to do. So I'd like your support for that. Okay, that's it. I'm ready. Who's Xavier? I'm sorry, I'm calling you Javier. You know why I'm calling you Javier? One of my best friends in the Congress was Javier Becerra, who's now the Secretary of HHS. And he always said, I'm Javier.
Hey, long as it's not, hey, you a-hole, I'm fine. Absolutely fine. So
okay, let's take some questions, folks.
Yep. So I'm gonna go by the hands as they were raised. First up is going to be, and please try to make them as condensed as possible, Andrew Padilla.
Hi, Andrew. Where is he?
Hey, evening, Senator. How are you?
Oh, we have a new senator named Padilla from California.
I heard that. Everyone was asking me if I was related to him. Unfortunately, I'm not.
It's a common name, but he's a very bright guy, and he's going to do very well. I put him on the Judiciary Committee. He's going to have a lot of clout in criminal justice and in immigration and stuff like that.
Well, you know what? Maybe I'll hit him up and be like, maybe are we related? Let's talk criminal justice. So there's two things here. I want to keep it brief, but I really do want to make sure we get to these two things. The first one is a request that we asked, we're drafting up in our budget statement. I'm on the budget committee. And so the question is, on the budget, we're obviously very concerned about the devastating cuts that are headed to our city. And the budget as it is right now, the preliminary, it kind of hides a lot of that because we don't really know what to expect in the tax base. And, cities waiting for the state and the state's waiting for the feds. So what I want to know just from you very briefly, and if you don't have the answer now, if you could please, either way, I'd love you to double back with our committee on what can we do to get into, what are the hearings you think we need to be part of on tax increases for the wealthy and getting more federal aid to
Andrew, here's even better. In this bill, we have $40 billion for New York State and New York City. You're going to get the money you need to avoid layoffs. Now, if you want to do taxes, that's your business. That's a different issue. But there's a ton of money. And guess what we don't do? We don't give it all to the state. Because if the state and Cuomo get it, the city will never see it. So the state is going to get 23 billion, but the city is going to get 10 billion. Their budget deficit is less. So I'll tell you what your budget committee should do. Tell de Blasio to use that money the right way, no layoffs, no cutbacks, and you can do some positive new things. This is a very generous budget. And
well, we'll definitely be doing that. I'm sorry to cut you off. I didn't mean to.
Okay, but we gave what I did. Cuomo got mad at me. He wanted all the money for himself. I said, we're giving you what you need. We're giving the cities and the localities what they need. And so New York City is going to have a lot of money. Use your clout on de Blasio to get some of it.
Okay, thank you. The second thing is, as you know, our community, East Harlem, is one of the biggest communities of Puerto Ricans outside of La Isla. As you know, Puerto Rico has been in recession since 2006, hit even harder by the economic ramifications of COVID-19 than New York has. Now, one of the complications we have in New York's budget is that we're losing wealthy taxpayers to tax havens like Puerto Rico. Right, so this makes it difficult to fund local priorities because we're losing our tax base, and Puerto Rico's and that affects Puerto Rico because their fight to determine their own fate is made more difficult because they've got millionaires and billionaires that are
Yes.
moving there. And the minute they get there, they have outsized political power.
I called up Rosselló, the governor, and screamed at him when he did that thing. I said, you don't let the wealthy give an escape route to not pay taxes. That was gross. But now
there's a new what?
There's a new legislature and everything else, and we're going to get a better people on the Promesa board. We'll get rid of the Promesa board. And we are now giving Puerto Rico more help. The Medicaid formula is changed. The FEMA that Trump withheld from them, we're giving them all to them. That's not going to be everything they need, but it's some. But I am willing to work with you, Mr. Padilla. I see you went to a different square. These squares are hard to follow.
I'm sorry, I'm here. I don't know how the squares
you went
work.
down to the very bottom. Okay.
Okay.
You went from the top to the bottom. But in any case, we ought to tell that governor, none of this bullshit where you let millionaires and billionaires escape taxes. And I've told him that. And maybe this is a good idea. See, I always like talking. I learn things. Maybe we should put something, they don't get the money unless they rescind that thing. What do you think of that?
Well, there's local legislation right now to deal with it, and it's definitely something that's causing a lot of strife on the island because you got people who are losing their homes and you got wealthy folks escaping New York taxes and buying up parts of beaches out there.
Terrible.
It is a really volatile situation.
I will work with you. You know who's I've talked to about this? Somebody who's one of my best friends in the Senate, Nydia Velasquez. You know, I gave her the nickname La Luchadora. And we should work on something because what he did was despicable and favored the rich and was a right-wing sort of Republicanish thing.
Thank
you. It's been through the statehood party, so I appreciate your support on that. We'd love to.
And I don't agree with, I love Richie Torres. I love the governor, the borough president of the Bronx, Diaz Jr. But I don't agree with them. I'm not going to support their statehood bill.
Thank
you. We straighten Puerto Rico out.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Andrew. Guys, please, I'm gonna call it the hands that are raised. Get to your questions straight away, because we have to keep the meeting moving along. Diane Collier, Vinny Torres, Angela Donadell, Jeremiah, and then David, and then we're gonna close it out. So, Diane Collier.
Thank you, Senator Schumer, for joining us today and tonight, actually. My question is quite simple.
You've got bad feedback.
Diana?
Yeah, it's still really bad. Can you log out and log back in? Log out and log back into the meeting. See if that'll correct.
Why don't we go to the next one and come back once she fixes things up?
Yeah, thank you for that, Xavier. Thank you, Mr. Schumer, for being here with us this evening. We do appreciate your time. You mentioned the infrastructure bill.
Yes.
I'm in East Harlem. I'm involved with a not-for-profit workforce development organization.
We're going to get money under this bill.
That's awesome. So one of the things I wanted to ask you that I didn't see you mention, just to ask, Mr. Schumer, was on the infrastructure bill, is there a portion of that bill that's going to be related to training, and of that, what percentages of the bill is there going to be? Is some of it related to vocational training, and may some of it be dedicated to safety? I only list safety because here in New York City, you may be very well aware of safety training is a large part of construction workers. You can't even walk through a gate for entry-level workers unless you have 40 hours of training.
We have money for vocational because we need to have 40% of the workforce not be a typical, no offense, white guys from the suburbs, but people of color, people from the inner city, people who are poor and don't have good jobs. And we have money for safety training. Another thing we do in this bill, we greatly strengthen OSHA, the federal agency that's supposed to protect workers. But under Trump, they just let the bosses put workers at risk. It was horrible.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Senator Schumer, if you would please have one of your staff forward that provision in the bill, that'd be very helpful.
Great, I will.
Great. Angela Donadell.
Good evening, Senator Schumer. Many people in East Harlem live in multi-generational households. So in regards to the stimulus disbursements, will there be support? Okay, so dependents are eligible to get a portion for your dependents, but what about adult dependents
They still
and
apply.
adult dependents with disabilities, because they could still be part of your family.
We changed it from the old law and they get the money. They each get the 2,000.
Individually or as part of the dynamic in terms of how you file your taxes?
No, you can do it you can take your pick.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's good. No, we in the previous bill, adult people who were who needed help, you know, disabled or whatever, couldn't get it. Now they can as part of the family. Now, if a totally separate family is living with you, not your relatives, they can apply as well, but they should apply as a separate family, and they get money and you get money.
Understood. Thank you very much.
Thank you for a good question. I'm going to go back to Diane. Let's see if your audio is working now, Diane.
You tell me.
Yeah, it sounds a little bit better. Yeah.
It's better, Diane.
Is it better?
Yes.
Okay, I think it's more of my internet service than it is my actual mic. Again, thank you, Senator Schumer, for coming tonight. My question really is about the Second Avenue subway and the infrastructure transportation bill. It's been 100 years in the making for East Harlem. And I know that there's monies being put into the infrastructure bill, and I know about the Gateway, I know about the Brooklyn highways, but we sorely need that Second Avenue subway, not merely because it's a subway, but also for the jobs that you just talked about. So I would like to hear from you as to what do we need to do to advocate?
Number one priority, in the Gateway is separate. I already got the money for that, but that horrible Donald Trump held it up. You know what he said to me? I'm holding it up till you support my wall. I said, I'm not supporting your stupid effing wall. Okay? So he was just a vindictive son of a gun. The number one, if we get a big infrastructure bill, there's separate money for highways and separate money for mass transit. Obviously, the Second Avenue subway is mass transit. The number one priority for New York City, we don't need it for Gateway, we have the money for that, is the Second Avenue subway, numero uno. I love it. I've taken it up to wherever it goes, 96th Street or wherever it goes.
Yeah, we like to bring it up to 125th Street and make that true connection between Metro North and all of the other connections to international. So thank you.
Jobs will go to East Harlem residents when we do it. That's a big deal. We got to pass the infrastructure bill, but then, you know, as majority leader, you know, I'm the majority leader. I think I mentioned that.
Yes.
So I have clout, and I am a New York, as I say in Brooklyn, I'm a New Yorker, and I'm going to use that clout for New York.
And I thank you in advance for that. That's my question.
Thank you, Diane. I'm glad we could get you connected. I capped it with the last question to Jeremiah because we have to move the meeting along. We still have a lot of business to attend to.
I'm sorry. I'll come back another time, Xavier.
Please. You're welcome here anytime. Jeremiah.
Good evening, Senator Schumer.
Hi, Jeremiah.
Hi. So, you know, in East Harlem, folks over the years just continue, and it's consistent. They cite affordable housing as one of the top issues that concerns folks in East Harlem. But in our district as well, in addition, 1/3 of our rental housing is New York City Housing Authority, public housing stock.
Yes.
And you know, there's been over many years been a you know, consistent campaign of disinvestment and neglect.
By the way, by the city and the state.
Correct. Absolutely. There are a lot of people complicit in this.
Yeah.
So I just, you know, with the needs right now in the NYCHA portfolio being over $40 billion and to get the repairs up to snuff and give people the habitable housing they deserve. You know, that with that being the case, I know NYCHA's come and they've been great about coming to our committee and talking about all of the ways and programs.
They need money.
Yeah, exactly. They're trying to leverage all these
different infrastructure bill. We put $70 billion.
Okay.
For not just NYCHA operating expense. This is for repairs. This is for capital construction. It's big. See, infrastructure shouldn't just be roads and highways. It should be modern schools in inner city areas. It should be public housing, et cetera. And that's what we did in this bill. We got to pass it. That's the next bill, not this bill. But it's very important. Now, Nydia Velasquez, La Luchadora, and I got to federalize about 70 of these, and they did get some money a few years ago. But here's another clever thing I did. I said there's a special fund for any housing authority, public, that is under receivership. There are only 3 in the whole country. And New York is about 80% of that. So every dollar I put in there, 80% will go to New York. So I'm going to put some money in there too.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Senator.
Thank you, Jeremiah.
Okay.
Great name.
Great. Thank you very much. I just want to ask something real quick, and I may just defer because I'm very much concerned about our youth here with the fair student funding and the 69 billion. How much does the NYC get? And I might ask, I'm just going to defer because David and I have had a lot of conversations. He's our youth education chair. So as my question, David, could you just explain a little bit? We've had some conversations about this. If you could make it very quick, because I need to move the meeting along.
Very, very quickly. As you know, the governor has not released the close to $4 billion that's owed to New York City students as the fair student funding. We really would like you to help advocate that that money is released. That money's been targeted for New York City youth, specifically the needs in East Harlem, but also more importantly is how much of that 69 billion will be designated, identified for New York State and for New York City's youth, because again, we always seem to get allocated, but not receiving.
Yes, 69 was the last bill. We had another 170, so it's a total of 240, okay? And New York gets a lot of that. I'll get you the number, but guess what formula I used? Title I. That means places with poor children get most of the money, or the disproportionate, and so it'll be very good for East Harlem. The second thing I wanted to say to you, here's another thing I'm trying to do. This, you talked about the youth, not schools per se. I went to James Madison High School in Brooklyn. My father was an exterminator. We were poor people. He's 97, by the way, and he's a funny guy. He said, I'm an exterminator. I'm 97. DDT couldn't have been too bad to you. But you know where I hung out at night, David and Xavier? The Madison High School. Yeah, the Madison High School Night Center. I played basketball every night at the Madison High School Night Center. Our basketball team wasn't very good. You know, our motto was, we may be small, but we're slow. But it kept me off the streets. It kept me on the straight and narrow. It kept me from getting into trouble with drug dealers or anybody else. We need every high school to have a night center. You have Benjamin Franklin, I always see it. You know, you should have a school open in every community where people can go and hang out with supervision and everything else. And that's another thing I'd like to get done.
Well, we also need that funding for CBO. See, Children's Aid Society, Frederick Douglass Center kept me off the streets, and I'm the director of the East Harlem Center in East Harlem, keeping other kids off the streets. So I wholeheartedly agree with you, Chuck. We really need to advocate more for the CBOs to get that money to run those community centers, to stay open later, and we appreciate all that you do. Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Sorry to take a little extra time, Xavier.
No, that's quite all right. Thank you. Please
I'll come back.
Don't be a stranger. Please come more than once every 6 months.
Well, I got a lot of community boards and a lot of things to do. And then there's the rest of the state. You know, there's 62 counties in the state. But I'll do my best to come sooner. Okay.
Good to see you. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. God bless. Thank you.
Okay, if we could pop up. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. Sorry we couldn't get to all the questions. I'm going to jump back into human services. It is now a time check, 8:43. We still have a few action items. I'd really like to see us plow the road here. So we're going to go back. We were having a discussion on the motion to write a letter of support of the Center for Comprehensive Health Practices, or known as CCHP. The application to Oasis to remain a provider in East Harlem was made by Isaac Scott, seconded by Cindy Garcia, and passed unanimously. Brief memory dump. They were in Metropolitan Hospital. Metropolitan is reclaiming their space, not because of anything that has happened with CCHP, but mainly because that is their right. We have encouraged them to let them stay there a little longer, but they did come and give a very lengthy presentation, about 45 minutes to an hour, and answered a lot of questions, and there was an exchange back and forth. So Diane has her hand raised, and then Vinny. I will address those two, and then would like to get the agenda moving forward. So on, Diane.
So help me understand, is my sound good?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I think I expressed my concern about not having any statement in here. This is a very broad statement about them remaining a provider of what? And then of course, not allowing the community that wherever they're going to be sited to weigh in, and that's my concern, and that will probably drive my vote.
All right. Thank you very much, Diane. Vinny, you have your hand raised.
Thank you. Yeah, so I just want to just echo on that too. As you know, in our community, we have a lot of saturated areas where we have more, program services and methadone than other areas. So certainly if, Metropolitan is reclaiming their space, I believe that organization was there for many, many years. That could be their space, and that should be their space. So they're being, if Metropolitan is reclaiming that space, okay, where is it that this organization intends to cite itself, which they may not very well know at this point, but we should have an opportunity, or certainly the community, the community in which that is coming into, specifically the district or the area or the block or the avenue, because as you all know, up on 125th Street, we're at, the situation there is pretty dire. And just to compound additional program services and methadone in a corridor like 125th Street, it would be a horrible injustice to the community to cite another organization providing those services. And we all know they need it, of course, and we want to have those services provided, of course. But we have to do it in an even way, and in a manner in which one area is not being more disenfranchised than another. So I just want to piggyback on what was mentioned earlier. I think that's something that really needs to be thought about. Thank you.
So, Vice Chair, can I please respond, because I've gotten cut off previously because I deferred to the senator.
Go ahead, Nye.
So, yes, thank you, Diane, and thank you, Vinny. I know Diane, attended the last meeting. As I was previously stating, this is our second presentation from this particular provider. The first time this was brought to our attention, it was actually brought to our attention by Metropolitan, informing us that they were going to be reclaiming their space, and they've been, as everyone has stated, in the community, I think since the 1960s, with, as far as I know, they've been a good neighbor and a cornerstone organization. So their move is being prompted by Metropolitan being able to expand and use the space in a different way to support the needs of the community. So at this point, they do not have a location in mind. What they first want to do is have community support. So they're inviting us to the table in conversation at the start of the journey of being able to explore possible locations across East Harlem, and are asking for a letter of support so that they can start that process. And we asked them, and they committed to verbally, it is recorded on the tape, for us to come back to the Health and Human Services Committee to keep us informed as they move forward in that process. Our understanding is that they are just had started to employ the help of, a real estate, commercial, representative to help them begin to explore. And we did communicate to them during the meeting as a committee, are concerned about the oversaturation in the northern part of our district. As you all know, I live 4 blocks from there. So many of us expressed our concern about that. But we also did not, because this isn't coming to us with an expansion request, this isn't coming to us with a request for a new siting. One of the things that the committee was unanimous about was that we support the good cornerstone neighbors, and that at this point in time, the committee unanimously said that they would support a letter. The letter is an expectation that the provider will return to the board when they have identified a new location, and that we can then host a public hearing at that time as they propose, where they would like to be cited next. And I think that that would then give the community a second opportunity to revisit this topic, or technically a third, since I said they've been to us twice before. And we're open to having them come back at that time to make sure that we're all in agreement as to how we move forward. Again, we do not want to penalize them for the fact that, they've been a tenant in a place, like I said, since the 60s, that now because of changes, right, COVID and others, they are being told with pretty short-term notice that they had to relocate, and we've already advocated to give them additional time so that they can start this search. But we also don't want to in any way disconnect the treatment of those patients from our community that they are serving. And I also want to just open, I know we're short on time, but I know Pastor Isaac Scott, Robin, who's also on the committee, and others have very strong opinions of support. So if anyone would like to comment, I yield the time.
Okay. Thank you. And I have Osendi, and then we'll cap it off with Eva Chan real quick. So Osendi.
Yes, hi. I hear and I understand the challenges that Don and the other member brought up. But we also have to consider that CCHS has actually been an excellent provider, and they've actually provided comprehensive treatment for people who are in need. And if we were to look at the services that they provide and compare them to other service providers that do not actually have primary care along with the opiate addiction treatment plans, you can see that those that are on 125th Street, those that are very challenging and some might say far gone, is because they don't have that level of support. So while I understand the challenges that we are facing as a community, please consider the fact that this is an organization that's providing a service that is desperately needed and is actually using a model that is providing services to our most vulnerable. So please consider that for your vote.
Keep it on 96th Street.
Thank you, Cindy. Eva, final question.
Yeah, so I thought that we voted on writing a letter, so it's a surprise to me that the letter is in the agenda. I thought that last time we agreed that we will write a letter, but with conditions. So I agree with Diane, especially I don't live near there, but if there is citing of concerns of kind of loitering or issues related to a drug treatment center, we got to look more carefully, because simply having the center to come present to CB11 may not be sufficient for us to know their performance. I do appreciate them providing comprehensive healthcare. However, data from OASIS indicates that only 16% of their methadone patients are from East Harlem and 10% are from Central Harlem. So everyone else is coming from outside.
I don't think that that's a one-for-one correlation, because are they looking at all of their, we had the same discussion, Eva, at the committee, I want to clarify. The information that was available was based on their drug treatment facility. It wasn't information about the pediatric care services, their primary care services, the mental health care services, their senior services. So I'm happy the staff has the presentation that they gave, which lists the myriad of services that they provide. They are not just a drug treatment facility. And I want to make sure that as CB11 members, we are cognizant of the fact that, yes, we have a crisis here. There are issues of oversaturation and redlining, but most of the issues come from the smaller service providers along the corridor that are just really giving out treatment and sending people out the door. They do not historically come from service providers that are providing other medical services. We did have Metropolitan come and present. They were the ones who notified us of this change. Metropolitan did not report any issues or history of any concerns, and said that they had been a longtime solid cornerstone partner. So I would think that Metropolitan's, testimony, I think, is also something that should be considered. And we did check with the staff. It did not have any other complaints on record for this service provider. So I do want to make sure that we're not putting, what they say, throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I know that many of us, particularly myself included, my son has to walk to 116th Street and not 125th Street because he's concerned about some of the issues there and because of public safety and others. But I want to make sure that we are not penalizing our good service providers as we address the issues with some of the other service providers who we need to develop, more information on and develop, a better dialogue with. So I know that the committee was fully supportive. And as I said, I would love to have other committee members speak in support of it. I do not want us as a community to, interrupt during this pandemic the level of care and service that is going into those members of our community that rely on this service provider who's being moved for no fault of their own. They're not being moved because they've been a bad service provider or they've caused issues. It's really a matter of space. And the letter, as I said, of support that will be written, we definitely discussed with them continuing to come back. I'm happy to have a standing, meeting, per our committee for them to continue to keep us posted and to have a dialogue with them as they go on this journey to find a new site. But I don't think that they should be penalized when they've been someone who's been in our community providing services for so many years.
Okay, thank you very much, Nye. I'm going to close out the questions on this. There are two ways we.
Yeah, I would like to, I really, I realize that it's late, but this is a big concern. May I just maybe entertain, but cannot entertain.
Diane, you've not been recognized. Let me finish what I'm saying. I'm chairing the meeting, so please. We have two options before us. We either accept the motion as it is, or we could amend to put a condition in. And that condition can say that when they have identified a suitable space, that they come back and present to the committee. That would be an opportunity for us to then hold a public hearing so we could take feedback in. We can make that a condition. So that is the option. We would have to then have a first and a second and then amend to include that. And if there is no objection, we can do so by one of two ways, either a roll call vote or by unanimous consent. But if one person objects, then we have to do a roll call. That's it. So that is my recommendation. So we can include this because that's what I'm hearing from the general consensus on the back and forth. Your question, Diane.
Amelia was asking if she would accept a friendly amendment to include everything that she said be included in the letter. That's all I was going to say, which includes what you just said.
So, all right. So the way we'd have to do is the first and second, because it is an alteration from the original parliamentary procedure, we could take a motion to adopt by unanimous consent, a condition, or we could do a roll call vote and then back to the global. Those are our two options because it's out of the committee now. It's not like we're doing the business in the committee. So is there a motion on the floor to accept the Human Services letter of support for CCHP? Please raise your hands.
Sorry, do you want us to raise our hands, Xavier?
Yes, it makes it easier. I see Jason Wu.
Yes.
So you motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
My hand is raised.
Nye?
Jeremiah also was.
Jeremiah.
Okay.
Let's do Jeremiah.
Jeremiah, okay. All right, now is there a motion to adopt an inclusion that a condition that they have to return back and report when they have identified an adequate space?
I make a motion, Carlos.
Okay.
I second it.
So through unanimous consent, are there any objections? Raise your hand if you object to the inclusion of this conditional statement. I see a hand from Cindy Garcia. You object?
That's correct.
Okay, then I call the roll call vote. Angel, please call the roll. And this is to include the amendment to the text that there is a condition to support, to accompany the letter of support, that they return back to the committee to report back when they have found an adequate space so the public, we can hold a public hearing.
Okay, so just to be very clear, so we are voting now on the amendment. You recognize Carlos as the first, and the second was whom?
The second, I heard Francis.
Okay.
Yes, that was me.
Okay, thank you.
There was one objection to the unanimous consent, so they're the ones who made the first and second. So please call the roll.
Okay.
Sir.
Oh, sorry, just get myself set up here. Okay, Jose Altamirano.
This motion includes the amendment, correct?
This is the vote on the
Yes,
amendment
okay,
to
yes.
include the amendment. Yeah. Stephanie Arroyo,
Yes.
Eva Chan,
Yes.
Diane Collier. Diane Collier.
Yes, I'm sorry, Angel. Yes.
All right. Carlos Diaz.
Yes.
Angela Donadell.
Yes.
Jessica Elliott.
Yes.
Elsie Encarnacion,
Yes.
Judith Ferraro,
Abstain.
Roger Flores,
Yes.
Sandy Garcia was. Sandy Garcia. I'm not hearing Sandy. Sandy? Okay, I'll skip. David Giordano,
Yes.
John Green,
Abstain.
Jada,
Yes, agree.
Ivy,
Yes.
Marissa,
Yes.
Giselle,
Yes.
Tricia, Pat Martin.
Yes.
Thank you. Francis,
Yes.
Jennifer Meyer,
Yes.
Jessica Morris,
Yes.
Andrew Padilla,
Yes.
Arturo Perez,
Yes.
Don Sanders, Dawn Sanders.
Sorry, my shortcut didn't work. I have to abstain because I had some other questions, but yeah, it has to be amended, but I wasn't clear that we were going to amend it strongly enough. So I have to abstain.
Okay, no worries. Xavier,
Yes.
Jeremiah,
Yes.
Russell Schuler,
Yes.
Vinny Torres,
Yes.
Candy Vasquez,
Yes.
Whitaker.
Point of clarification. So the motion was just to write the letter. I apologize, Angel. I just want to be clear what I'm voting on right now. It's just
This-
to add.
Yeah, this vote is for the amendment, to add the amendment to the original motion.
Okay. Yes.
Michelle Wiltshire Clement,
Yes.
Jason Wolf.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Jason Villanueva, yes.
Oh, welcome to the party, Jason Villanueva. Motion carries.
Okay, great. Now we return back to the original motion with the letter of support, including the amendment with the condition that when they have identified a suitable space, they will return to present to our board, which committee, most likely Human Services, or to be held as a public hearing. That is to be determined. And now we're going to vote on the original before us, which is item number 6. Angel, please kindly call the roll again.
Dokie. Jose Altamirano, Jose Altamirano.
Yes.
Thank you. Stephanie Arroyo,
Yes.
Bachan,
No.
Diane Collier,
No.
Carlos Diaz,
Yes.
Angela Donadell, Angela. Folks, if you're not speaking, please mute. It makes it really hard to hear. Angela, not there? Jessica Elliott.
Yes.
Carly, can you please mute whoever's not speaking?
Looks like it's muted.
Well, I'm still hearing
You have
somebody.
to mute Judith.
Okay, thank you. Elsie Encarnacion,
Yes.
thank you. Judith Ferraro,
No.
Roger Flores. Roger Flores. I'm gonna skip. Sandy.
I'm sorry, my screen froze and I just came back.
No worries.
Would you mind clarifying what I'm
Sure.
voting on?
So this is voting on the amended motion for number 6.
Yes.
Thank you. Rick Giordano.
Yes, sorry, Andrew.
It's okay. John Green.
Abstain.
Jada.
Yes.
Ivy.
Yes.
Marissa.
Yes.
Giselle.
Yes.
Patricia.
Yes.
Francis.
Yes.
Jennifer.
Yes.
Jessica Morris.
Yes.
Andrew Padilla.
Yes.
Arturo Perez.
Yes.
John Sanders.
Abstain.
Xavier.
Yes.
Jeremiah.
Yes.
Russell.
Yes.
Torres.
Yes.
Andy.
Yes.
Jason Villanueva.
Yes.
Nye Whitaker. Nye.
Yes, can you hear me?
Thank you, Nye.
Yes, thank you.
And got it. Thank you. Michelle.
Yes.
And Jason Wu.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much, everyone. Moving along, next slide, please. We have land use, landmarks, and planning. I don't see Stephen Villanueva. I see Elsie is on.
Yep.
I can ask the remaining chairs because we have a total of 4 action items left. If you can keep your comments brief. So we can move along. All right, Elsie.
No problem. Good evening, everyone. So as you see on the screen, we had our meeting and we had one action item. Tau Prop Equities came in to speak about a proposal that they had, and they wanted a letter of support to engage in discussions with HPD and in regards to development. And so the development would require site control of an HPD lot. It's a very small lot. It's located on 127th and Park, roughly. And it would be included with a lot that they already own, which would cover the lot that they already own, covers about 97% of the project. This was, again, just for everyone's knowledge, it is pre-ULURP. It is just a conversation that they are looking to have with HPD about site control. And so there wasn't much in terms of the project itself, but it will be for housing. And during the conversation, one of our community board members and the committee members obviously raised the issue of violations that Tau Prop had on another development that they are currently managing and owners of. And so that is why you see the addition of the condition on the letter of support. And that condition says that all violations related to mold, mice, and water leaks be remedied at the AK houses. And so that was embedded into the motion, and the motion was put up by Jason Villanueva and was seconded by Jessica Elliott, and it was passed unanimously.
Thank you very much, Elsie. We have a question from Diane Collins. Diane?
I'll be brief. This particular company came to us about 6 years ago with the same issue regarding Lexington Gardens. So we had the same issue with their existing housing having all these violations. And they had to come back and report to the community board how they were processing those violations in order for us to move forward, even with the conversations. And so I think we should include that they come back to the community board with a process of reducing these mold, mice, and water leaks. They also have home invasion. They also have a lot of crime issues. And it's not just AK houses, it's 1775 houses as well. So I just wanted to put that on the table.
Yes, thank you, Diane. We were definitely aware of that and had conversations about that. There was a lot of conversation during the committee meeting, and I don't want to take up too much time about that, but also about, you know, the housing itself and what that would entail. So there was a lot of conversation about that. The condition, however, was that it be remedied. There was someone from HPD there that mentioned that they would be looking at this prior to approving the actual project. So the project has not been approved at all. This is just about them having conversations with HPD on the acquisition of the land. There's only 3%. So I completely understand what you're saying. And yes, we will continue conversations with TALPROP and with HPD, who is at our meetings on a monthly basis, almost every month, to discuss one thing or another. But yes, I can agree that that is something that we have to continuously stay on top of. And I personally am aware of the other items that you mentioned in terms of violence and drug use and all of those other things, safety concerns at the other properties. But
are you open, Elsie, to include 1775 because this new housing is sandwiched between those two houses, one on 126, one on 128.
I would defer to Andrew, who made the condition, but I would be okay with that. But Andrew Padilla from our committee was the one who included.
Yeah. I'm sorry. They both need to be remedied at both of those houses. I see in the chat all of their developments, but I'm speaking specifically for where this new site is going to be.
Yeah, again, I would defer to Andrew. I don't see an issue with adding that address, and I don't see an issue with adding all of the developments, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I mean, if the agreement is that all of their developments, they need to remedy the violations at all of their developments before, before they get our support on things. I mean, I think if that people are comfortable with that, I'm certainly, comfortable with that. Because off the top, I don't know the exact building number development you're referring to, Diane, but if there's consensus to use that as a specific example, the AK houses, right? And then just move forward more broadly on their properties in the neighborhood, I certainly would be comfortable.
Okay.
The new
I got a hand raised. I've got a hand raised right now.
I was just giving them some clarity on it because I live over there, so I know.
Yeah, please give some clarity.
AK houses is one of the buildings. 1775 is the other building. It's the new development is going to be built between the two of them. That's all I'm saying. It should include, and they have issues as well. 1775.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm certainly comfortable with that.
Clarity. Jessica Morris had her hand raised.
So thank you for the point of clarification, Diane. It's my understanding, Andrew, that the violations that you brought to everyone's and the public's attention during our meeting were throughout the development, that it wasn't one building or the other, and that in order for the city land disposition to move through council, which is what HPD said, and this is where I may be wrong in my understanding, but it's my understanding that in order for the disposition of city land to move through city council, all of those violations by the owner had to be resolved.
Right, that's correct.
Okay, so that should, Diane, if TALPROP is in fact the owner of both of those buildings on that super block, then all violations, not one building or the other, but both and would be resolved before they were to move ahead with disposition.
Thank you for clarifying on that, Jessica. One more hand, Dawn.
Thanks so much. So I was just looking at this paragraph, and I don't know if this list of violations is inclusive of all of the problems that are happening right now, but it doesn't include security. And I remember maybe a few summers ago, and I could be wrong about this, but a few summers ago, the management company removed the guards from a number of posts, and that encouraged some additional crime to take place. So I think it should be really made clear about the crime, because the crime is not necessarily a violation, but it is top of mind for the people who have to live there. And also, I didn't know, and I was wondering what % of the new mixed use development is going to be affordable or proposed to be affordable. So those are my two issues: the violence that happens at 1775 and in that location, and the % affordable for the new development.
Elsie?
Yeah, so again, this was, not a proposal for a project. This was a letter of support in terms of acquiring the land that HPD has. So Talprop owns about 97% of the available property there, and there's only about 3% that is owned currently by HPD. So it's about 500 square feet. And so what Talprop is trying to do at this moment is get that piece to then propose. But they did mention during the meeting that there was, I think it's 100% affordable, or because it is under MIH. But again, that proposal has not been put out yet. There wasn't a diagram with like renderings of the building, none of that. Right now, it was just about being able to consult with HPD in terms of acquiring the land, which will still have to go through a process. So we will have another chance at having these questions and bringing up these points, checking in about the violations, following up about what's going on in their other developments at that point. This was just about them having the conversation, which I found odd because I didn't know that actually happened, but that is what was presented to us at this time. So it isn't about a project quite yet, but it is about, I think it was 100%. I don't have the exact numbers here. And that stuff is in our minutes, but I'll just look. 100% project-based, Section 8 low-income housing is from what they said, and approximately 550 new units. But again, these are all approximations.
Okay, thank you very much, Elsie. I'm going to take one more, and then I'm going to move things along. So Andrew, you had your hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that, I'm sorry, I went back to the actual letter, and actually we do have the two buildings that Diane is referencing here, right? So we do actually have both of these here. Just wanted to make clear to the committee, we do have AK houses, and we do as well also have 1775. And yeah, that is, I just wanted to clarify, because Diane was like, oh, there's only one. And I was like, oh man, we should definitely have both. And I'm looking, we definitely do have both there. We were sure to do that at our meeting.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that point of information. Jessica, real quick, do you have some additional information?
Yeah, just to further, Don, we did sort of remind Talprop that they are big stakeholders in East Harlem as far as their public space commitments, and public safety is a big part of that. So they were reminded, and I think it will be an ongoing discussion. And I'm glad to see Candy's hand. The affordability levels of this development are extremely low and low income apartments. And the window of opportunity to move forward with HPD is time is of the essence. So that's why I think we moved so quickly to understand that there are violations that are open, but that there is an opportunity here to advance a type of development for community members in East Harlem that doesn't come along every day. So it seemed really important to sort of seize the opportunity and let Talprop know that we wanted to work with them and we expected a lot from them, but that we needed to move forward. So
great. Thank you very much, Jessica, for clarifying on that. It was a very robust meeting. So again, this is a motion by Jason Villanueva to grant a letter of support for Talprop Equities to engage in discussions with HPD regarding site control of the city-owned lot. The motion was already read in by Elsie. I will entertain a motion for the committee's recommendation.
Motion to support the committee's recommendation by Jason Villanueva.
Second, I see a hand, Jessica Elliott.
Second.
Thank you. Angel, please call the roll.
Morano,
Yes.
Can I get a point of
Royal.
clarification?
Yes, Candy?
Are we going to add 1775 with the AKA houses along with that motion, or we got to do another motion
No,
to
Andrew
add?
just got back into the record that was included. You
Okay.
just clarified a moment ago.
All right, no, I just want a point of
yeah, yeah.
clarification.
No problem. Thank you. Carry on, Angel.
Stephanie Arroyo,
Yes.
Eva Chan,
Yes.
Ann Collier,
Abstain.
Carlos Diaz,
Yes.
Angela,
Abstain.
Jessica Elliott,
Yes.
Elsie Encarnacion,
Yes.
Judith Ferraro,
Abstain.
Roger Flores,
Yes.
Sandy Garcia,
Yes.
David Giordano.
Yes.
Sorry?
Yes, I'm sorry, Angel.
Thanks, Dave. John Green,
Aye.
Jada,
Yes.
Ivy,
Yes.
Marissa,
Yes.
thank you. Giselle,
Yes.
Patricia,
Yes.
Francis,
Yes.
Jennifer Meyer.
Yes.
I'm trying to keep a straight face, Francis.
Okay.
Jessica Morris,
Yes.
Andrew, Andrew Padilla,
Sorry, my mute was on. Yes.
okay. Arturo Perez,
Yes.
John Sanders,
Abstain.
Xavier,
Yes.
Jeremiah,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Vinny,
Yes.
Jason Villanueva,
Yes.
Candy,
Yes.
Nye,
Abstain.
Michelle,
Yes.
Jason Wu,
Abstain.
the motion carries.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Elsie. If there is nothing else to add.
No, I mean, I did want to just point out that some of the community board committee members have agreed to attend a hearing February 23rd at 10 a.m. regarding the Planning Together a bill that's come out of the city council. And so George James gave a short presentation about that during our meeting. And we've been discussing this, and we will continue to look at how we can make that work for community boards and for community alike. And so just wanted to kind of put that out there.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much, Elsie. I see Jessica. You had your hand.
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to Elsie's point that she just made. Could we get the invitation to that? I still haven't received it personally.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you, Elsie. Moving on, youth and education, David.
Sorry, I had my hand raised. I just really
Oh.
quick question. I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
you disappeared. You were there and then it disappeared. So
Okay, I just really quick question. I was just curious, what's happening to the parking lot, which was parking for some tenants and other local organizations that potential building would replace on the Tal Prop site?
Elsie? Do you-
Yeah, so again, and none of that was discussed. I mean,
Okay.
I think the parking lot
Thank you.
is on Tal Prop property though. So yeah, it would be part of the project when it's presented, but that wasn't necessarily discussed.
Thank you.
And I think
There-
there's
there-
like garage shelter. Well, no, wait. Are you talking about the parking lot? There was like a garage shelter as well that was going to be demolished, right, Angel?
I don't recall. I was going to state though that the proposal as it stands also is going to include parking.
It's going to include parking. Okay, thank you. I wasn't.
Thank you. All right, youth and education, David.
I'm sorry, Xavier. A copy. I just wanted to share, and I meant to say it before. A copy of the presentation that they gave is available on the board website on the calendar.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, and the discussion as well as in the minutes with a lot of questions that were brought up.
Thank you, Elsie. David?
3 times the chime. How's everybody doing? So, in the words of Chuck Schumer, it's nice to see everybody's face. It would be nice to see everybody's face. But as we continue on with youth and education, I'll be very brief. I want to thank Carly for kind of setting up the informative sessions that we have at the beginning of the meeting, where we really have DOE coming regularly, CDC, both CECs coming. So we're really getting a lot of good information at the meetings very quickly. It's kind of in the spirit of parks, where they have parks and other entities come. So that's been really good. Very quickly, you should really just take a moment to read the minutes to get more of the information of the meeting. We're struggling with our preliminary budgets and the frustration of getting responses and the same responses year to year that aren't any different. We also working on our visions and goals, and we kind of came down with increased community visibility, 1, coalition building 2, and community engagement. And from that is what we develop our work and should develop our projects that we want to work around. I do want to say thank you to the committee members that did send me some proposals. I did see one that came during the meeting. I didn't get a chance to read through it yet, and I will look through it and get back with feedback at our next meeting. So thank you, everybody, as it relates to that. Very quickly, during our meeting, we had like a commercial break where Andrew Padilla raised some concern about the Center for Puerto Rican Studies, and he will bring that up in new business. There's a petition out. I suggest that we all get on and sign it. So in furthering up at our Parks and Open Space and Parks Committee, they brought up a very good opportunity for our youth, and that's the New York City proposal to eliminate membership fees for young people, young adults, in which they would be able to use the rec centers for free. Rec centers are often very underutilized by our youth. There is a fee which many of our kids in our community cannot pay. Groups may be able to take advantage of this as well. So we felt that it was important, and we actually, Jessica said, hey, why not make a motion? So a motion was made by John Green to write a letter of support to eliminating New York City Parks membership fee for youth, young adults. It was seconded by Angela Dardell, and the motion passed unanimously. So, in relation to that, I think this is a wonderful opportunity that doesn't come too often, and we should definitely support this and write a letter of support and make sure that our youth get involved and sign up and utilize those rec centers. Xavier, was that good? Quick enough? I did you, Francis. Any questions?
Any questions? I see Jason Villanueva.
No, sir, Chair, I'm ready to make a motion.
All right, well, hold on 2 seconds. Are there any questions with what David just delivered? See it that there are none. Let's see right here. Okay, do we have a second?
Second, Carlos.
All right, please call the roll. Angel. Be fast with your mute buttons. Angel?
Yes.
I was caught with my button. Carlos, Jose,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes.
Eva,
Yes.
Ann.
Are you talking to me?
You're
Yeah.
the only Diane we have.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The.
Carlos,
Yes, yes.
Angela,
Yes.
Jessica Elliott,
Yes.
Judith,
Give me
Yes.
here. I vote yes.
Raja,
Yes.
Elsie, you were still here? You said yes?
Yes, sorry.
All right, no worries. Ostendi,
Yes.
good.
Yes.
John,
Aye.
Rita,
Yes.
Ivy,
Yes.
Marissa, Marissa,
Yes. Sorry, my mute. Yes.
Giselle,
Yes.
Patricia,
Yes.
Francis,
Yes.
Jennifer Meyer,
Yes.
Jessica Morris,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Arturo, Arturo Perez,
Yes.
okay. Juan,
Yes.
Xavier,
Yes.
Jeremiah,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Benny,
Yes.
Jason Villanueva,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Nye,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
Jason Wu.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much, Angel. David, if there is nothing else, please to move the agenda along.
No, I just want to again thank members for their contributions and look forward to really developing our goals and working forward on some of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Housing, Jeremiah Schlittman.
Hi. Okay. So, oh, where did that came? All right. So, yeah. So, just wanted to briefly. First, my apologies because I didn't. The minutes are not included right now with the packet, so they'll be there in the next months along with the March minutes. But at any rate, the main thing I wanted to highlight is that we were able to have NYCHA come and present on some. Well, first. The Blueprint for Change was the main presentation that we discussed. And for those that don't know, Blueprint for Change is essentially, it's a plan that NYCHA has to try to bring needed capital dollars into 110,000 repairs in their portfolio in need of repairs desperately. And then, so between this Blueprint for Change, which would create a public entity, much like the School Construction Authority, it would create an end-to-end publicly run, with the union workforce and some other workforce development programs. But between this program and RAD conversions, which, the committee we've been discussing these various things and having to debate the merits of the various programs. But NYCHA represents that between the RAD program and Blueprint for Change, the entire New York City Public Housing Authority portfolio should be able to address the capital needs. That being said, I know you all heard the question I had for Senator Schumer, because truthfully, we have NYCHA. God bless them, coming continually to present all these various programs and ideas they have to fund, to plug the funding gap, and to try to overcome years of disinvestment and mismanagement. But at the end of the day, we know that, the dollars just aren't there. So I am pleased to hear that some level of that's being proposed right now in the federal government, because I know it's very badly needed. But at any rate, those programs will continue to be discussed and debated, and it will be a little bit dense because they have presented a lot of good information to us, but we were happy to have them present to us and to be able to directly answer a lot of great questions that we had, from the committee as well as members from the public, many of whom are New York City housing authorities who are affected by these proposals.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Are there any questions for Jeremiah? I do not see any. Thank you very much, sir. All right, next. Okay, public safety and transportation. Jose?
Hi, everyone. Most of us is for informational purposes, but I did want to point out that we did send written testimony for the DSNY commercial waste carting zone proposed rule, which I spoke to you guys about last month at full board. Our committee is continuing our discussion against policy interventions regarding e-vehicles that are it's a problem here and all over the city, not just our community. We also went over our preliminary budget. So we had an in-depth committee discussion over that. We got to keep Jason happy. You see him smiling, right? Look at him, look at him. And that's it. That's all I got, folks. Thank you very much.
Any questions for Jose? Not seeing any. Okay. All right. Thank you. Environment, open space and parks. Jessica Elliott.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'll try to make it quick. Everything's in the minutes for informational purposes, but wanted to highlight that we did ask Parks what was the status on the Richard Toussaint Park and pathway naming. They said the commissioner is going to make an announcement in June. So the committee plans to reconfirm the request for the park and pathway naming and keep that moving forward ahead of that announcement. Let's see. Connie Lee she has a public art park to park pamphlet that's coming out again. It's a self-guided art walk across East Harlem. So there are just some issues with how to circulate. So if you have the ability to help circulate, please reach out to Connie. As you've heard already, we had the mayoral announcement for funding to the East River Esplanade. So we're going to keep pushing on that. I think that's an item after in new business here. So we'll look forward to that. Yeah. And then we had a presentation by the Mayor's Office of Resiliency and New York City Parks regarding the city's One NYC resiliency effort and resiliency in East Harlem. And this was a recap of a presentation they gave in January 2020 with a couple updates. The framework focused on issues of flooding, extreme heat, and sea level rise. We did talk a little bit about the foiling of the study. They said that it was a consultant report and that was not vetted by the city. We pushed back on that a little bit, saying, we're constantly reviewing designs and things in schematic design where things aren't fully vetted, and that this shouldn't be any different. Their intent is with the new mayoral funding to incorporate the recommendations from the studies, but one of the biggest issues is interior drainage. So that's going to have to be something that is done in tandem with the waterfront improvements. They did have a commitment to share main takeaways from the report that we foiled. So we'll keep pushing on that. We had a committee review of the preliminary budget for fiscal year 2022, and we decided as a committee to focus on sanitation equity and seasonal workers and / maintenance for parks. So we've been talking about the sanitation and equity with Councilmember Ben Kalos's office. So we're looking at drafting a letter in partnership with the electeds to address the differences in funding available district to district. Let's see. Let's see. David already brought up my thing about the public comment period. So thank you for doing that. Glad your committee took that forward for us. And Diane had mentioned about Manhattan Borough President Gail Brewer's closed street initiative. There were 0 recommended streets above 116th. So if you have any recommendations for streets that could be considered for that, if you could submit that to Angel. And just because I know Malik would want me to, Malik's Bob McCullough's 80th birthday party on February 25th from 7 to 8:30. So please look out for that invitation and be there if you can. Thank you. Any questions?
I am not seeing any hands. Thank you, Jessica. Next, we have our district needs and budget, which will have one item under new business for the preliminary budget response, but our chair of the committee, Jason Villanueva.
Thank you, Chair. Much appreciated and obliged. I first and foremost want to congratulate each and every one of you board members and our public constituents for your involvement in this year's fiscal budget. I cannot applaud you enough. Your efforts have transpired to projects that have come into fruition to date, as it brought up with the Esplanade that was released in the capital budget, some transportation items, and we'll definitely expand upon that next month about the statistics of what items have been approved into the budget versus what items are still in question. And that brings us to new business later on when we talk about our draft letter of response of the initial budget that was provided by the mayor. Everybody here, all the committees, the chairs were highly involved and engaged, and I want to thank all of you as well as our outstanding staff and our liaison. Carly Wine was outstanding in getting the deliverable out. So with that said, if you review the document just from now to then, you'll see that we reorganized the responses based off the prioritization that was developed by our joint efforts in the survey. Another point of information for the meeting, we had a presentation by the census. Again, it's a part of our education effort that's going towards this year's goals with updating and educating our community on how the budget and how it works, right? And the census was very interesting because they gave us a lot of great fact-finding tools in being able to define statistics particular to our district. And I'm working on figuring a way to transfer that information to all the chairs, but it's outstanding. The liaisons in our committee are very excited, and we're looking to set up a training for the board to utilize that service, right? Not just the census that counts all the people for the votes. We get that. Great for the politicians, but for the statistics and the data that assist us as leaders in our district in advocating for our community, right? As you heard from the senator today, it is through that advocacy that these projects and these funding sources come into fruition. So again, I applaud this board in its effort this year, as well as the last, in assuring that we received the items that we requested. The work isn't done. The next stage after we vote on this letter with unanimous support, right, because you all were involved, is to start focusing on the budget hearings as expressed by the senator. I like using that because it will probably motivate some of us. We need to get down to City Hall and get a part of those budget hearings and rattle that tree so that way East Harlem doesn't get disserviced, right? But that's something to talk about for next month, for March. So I look forward to seeing all of you at our committee, and I'm ready for new business, Chair, or if you want to, however you would like to conduct the meeting moving forward.
Yes, we'll pull it up under new business. So thank you very much. Are there any questions for Jason? Okay. One question from Don Sanders.
When's your next meeting again?
I
Or the
promise
hearings?
we'll send you the notice. I promise.
Okay,
All
okay,
right?
because I want to support at the hearings. I want to definitely be there with you guys.
I appreciate that, Dawn. Thank you. And yes, any members who are interested in either working with the committee or even, you know, being our leaders that could go down and have those conversations on behalf of the committee, of the board, I should say, please reach out to me, send me an email as soon as possible. So that way we could present this to the executive committee and get, you know, everything all signed and crossed away by our process. So yeah, thank you, Dawn, for bringing that up. That's definitely a part of the minutes. So if we go into the letter, I think that would assist us in the next step.
Yeah, we'll get that in new business real quick. We just
Okay.
have committees. Thank you, Jason. Truth speaks to power at the effort we do. It sometimes it takes 5-10 years. Next, we're going to go to Economic Development and Culture. They meet tomorrow night, but Marissa, if you would like to say a few words, you're welcome to. If not, we can move along.
So thank you, Xavier. Yes, we are meeting tomorrow, and last month we had the opportunity to present on our meeting last month. So no new updates in terms of meeting material, but I did want to encourage everyone to participate in the restaurant week that is going on between now and the 14th. Even if you just go out for one meal or have a meal delivered to you, I think that would really help our small businesses within the area. Additionally, we did respond to our preliminary budget items, and it was helpful, you know, it was helpful for us to respond. And Giselle, again, thank you so much for your help with that and getting some more information. So we will have a presentation, not tomorrow, but probably next month from the New York Public Library, who has been doing a lot of work within our community that we actually didn't know about, but it was through our questioning for the budgeting and the funding that we found out, you know, some of the things that they've been doing within the area and the updates that are going to take place for our libraries, which we need once we do open up, right? So some of the requests that we've put in for ramps, you know, for revitalization of the libraries, that is still actually taking place. So they're holding on, but they will be giving us an update next month on that. And that again came from our questioning regarding the budget. So thank you, you know, Jason, and thank you, Giselle, for your help in that. And tomorrow's meeting, we will have the Africa Center present, and then we will also have the small business, one of the small business organizations present on some of the initiatives that they have going on. So that's it. Everything else is for informational purposes.
Wonderful. I saw a hand up. I saw Jessica Morris, but your hand's down now. So you have a question, and then Jose.
I do actually have a quick question. And Marissa, this is probably something to take up at committee or send to you privately, but I just sat in on a discussion about storefront improvement programs. And there are pipelines of dollars, matching dollars and other sorts of dollars coming from state level Main Street preservation efforts, East Harlem's history and culture building stock along 116th and Lexington up and down the district, not to mention 3rd Avenue. There's lots of opportunity in recovery to reinvest in incredible ways that the district may be ready for, that business owners, property owners may be ready for. So I will tap your ear and see if there can't be some discussions that happen at EcoDev that would tie in with land use, the retrofit question and reinvestment in our building stock that would not only support housing, but also public realms, security, public safety, and economic small business owners.
Thank you, Jessica. I'll look for that information. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much, Jessica. Jose?
I was just asking about a website link, but I think Dawn put it up. regarding the restaurants participating in the restaurant, like put something local.
So there are two restaurants there's the Harlem Restaurant Week and then there's the New York Restaurant Week. And we do have restaurants from East Harlem in the New York Restaurant Week. And there are a few in the Harlem Restaurant Week too. But
Could you put up the link there so that everyone can see it?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Please support local, buy takeout, even if you can't dine out. So thank you, Marissa. Next would be executive, in which we have our meeting this Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Be there, be square. We'll have that. That's right. So there's nothing to really add. We're just going to be carrying on our conversations about improving board efficiency process, and the documents working on pathways to positions and doing the committee work, which a lot of us already do, but it's more as a cheat sheet. Same with the parliamentary procedure in that discussion, and whatever else will be added to that conversation when Nilsa delivers that agenda. Next item, we should be moving on to new business, please. Okay, so real quick, and after we finish new business and old business, one quick announcement. He's hung on. I just want to say is Phil Ellison from the Public Advocate's Office. He was late to our elected officials, and he's still with us. So as soon as we're done, please don't jump off. He just has a couple quick things to announce to us. So here we have number 9, request to sign on a letter co-written by the Friends of the East River Esplanade and Civitas, thanking Mayor de Blasio for allocating $284 million in capital funding the Esplanade and Pier 107 rebuild, and asking him to authorize this for the fiscal year 21-22 budget to be voted on the City Council in the spring. This was discussed earlier during EOSP. Do we have a motion for this action item?
Motion.
Andy, do you, hold on. Please raise your hand so I can recognize. I think Michelle, was that Michelle?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Angela, please call the roll.
You had Candy and Michelle seconding?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Not you. Jose Altamirano?
Yes.
Got a preemptive yes. Stephanie Arroyo?
Yes.
Yolanda Brown? Oops. Chan?
Yes.
Diane Collier?
Yes, I'm not voting.
Carlos Diaz?
Yes.
Angela?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Jessica Elliott?
Yes.
Judith Ferraro?
Abstain.
Raja?
Yes.
Osendi?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
John?
Aye.
Jada?
Yes.
Ivy?
Yes.
Marissa?
Yes.
Giselle?
Yes.
Trisha?
Yes.
Francis?
Yes.
Jennifer Meyer?
Yes.
I got you. Thank you. Jennifer Meyer?
Yes.
Jessica Morris?
Yes.
Andrew Padilla?
Yes.
Arturo Perez?
Yes.
John Sanders?
Yes.
Xavier?
Yes.
Jeremiah?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Vinny?
Yes.
Jason Villanueva?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Nye? Nye? Welcome back. Michelle?
Yes.
Jason Wu?
Yes.
Nye, you still there? You there?
No, she doesn't look like she's logged in.
Okay, all right. The motion passes.
Thank you very much. Candy, you have your hand raised. You had a question?
No, I changed my mind.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I want to go home. I already want to, I need to take care of something. So I
Okay,
can't stay.
we have one more action item. That is 10, the response to the mayor's preliminary budget for fiscal year 2022. Thank you to all our chairs, our committees who did the work, weighed in and thoughtful responses. Jason, is there anything of note you wanted to add that wasn't covered in your report?
Nothing to add, just emphasize our unanimous support by our board.
Okay, do we have a motion to support the response to the mayor's preliminary budget for fiscal year 2022?
Motion made by Carlos.
Second.
I'll give you Carlos and then Francis, but please raise your hands. So I can-
I'm on the phone. I don't have a
I know you're
camera.
on the phone, Carlos. Thank you. We're nearly there, nearly there. Call the roll one last time, Angel.
Okay. Jose Altamirano.
I just want to point out that it's suspicious that Carlos is on the phone. Yes.
Stephanie,
Yep.
Eva,
Yes.
Ann,
Yes.
Carlos,
Yes.
Yes.
and Angela, Jessica, Elliot,
Yes.
Judith.
Yes.
Thank you. Roger,
Yes.
Sandy,
Yes.
David, David,
Yes.
John Green,
Aye.
Jada, Jada,
Yes.
Ivy,
Yes.
Marissa,
Yes.
Giselle,
Yes.
Tricia,
Yes.
Francis,
Yes.
Jennifer Meyer,
Yes.
Jessica Morris.
Thanks to the incredible leadership, yes.
Thanks to the incredible leadership is not an option.
Got it.
Take yes.
Andrew,
Thank you. I voted no. I voted no because he didn't repeat it. He made it sound like it was just
huh? What's going on?
Diane, you're
Move on, please.
Mute before incriminating, Diane. There you go. Andrew,
Never a dull moment. That's a yes.
for real, we're almost over and people are just stepping in it. Arturo,
Yes.
and Sanders,
Yes.
Xavier,
yes.
Jeremiah,
Yes.
Russell,
yes.
Vinny,
Sí, señor.
Jason Villanueva,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Nye,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
Jason Wu.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries.
Thank you very much. We're nearly there, everyone.
Unanimous. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Have a great evening.
Jason is
wait
out
up.
of order.
Jason, you are so out of. Old,
Oh,
Vinny, give me a call, Vinny.
old business, please.
You got it, Charlie.
Great. No old business announcements.
Xavier, just a quick question. I know that there was something in from Jamani's group, but I can't get it back in the
Yeah,
chat.
so I already talked about that. We're gonna have them speak under announcements.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. There's no old business? Announcements? Okay, next full board meeting will be on Tuesday, March 23rd, 2021. Thank you, board members. We have Phil Ellison from the Public Advocate's Office. Give him just a few minutes and then we will take a motion to adjourn.
Chair, Xavier, thank you so much. I appreciate you giving me a moment. CB11, good to be with you. I apologize, I'm keeping you from the end of the night, but I do think it's important to be worth your time. And first, I also thank your patience. I appreciate listening, keeping up with CB11. I've not been here for a little bit as I have all of Manhattan, a number of responsibilities, but the chair's reports at the district cabinet meetings, et cetera, and his advocacy has been helpful to know what's going on, and Nye Whitaker and other board members as well. I first also I want to send a shout out to the Assemblyman Rodriguez, his chief of staff, his dogged advocacy around the pier. I'm excited for you. I know they reached out to us. The pandemic kind of botched that in the beginning, but it's just so good. I know you all have been fighting for that funding, and the Assemblyman Rodriguez has been fighting for that funding. So congrats to you all. So I start on my update from the public advocate, Jamani Williams, and really important, and I put it in the chat here, is that on March 4th, the public advocate and the office of the public advocate will have their second annual State of the People. And it's a bit different than, I don't mean to say, it's just a little different than the other electeds in the city. The State of the People is a really interactive conference, networking and sessions that, of course, he will have an address himself about what's been going on in the city, what we've been doing. But I do say, if you look here, I put in the chat the Survey Monkey to register. It's all day. You don't have to come to everything, but there's a number of really powerful events where you can get to meet some of the community organizers and the deputy public advocates and the talent that really support the public advocate Williams. And I just quickly give you some of the examples of the plenary sessions you can attend. You can choose to attend. A New Deal for Housing, Green New Deal, Thinking Nationally, Acting Locally, Community Empowerment, Women Rising, Justice, Health, Equity, and Safety, COVID-19, Then, Now, and Later, Justice, Health, Equity, and Safety, which is one of our teams, Redefining Public Safety, which I'll close out on my announcement around that really important conversation, Education Opportunity, Empowering Our Youth Towards Advocacy, and Technology Innovation, Tools for Equity and Inclusion, right? We have taken on technology as one of the issue areas in our city, which again ties to public safety. So I really just advocate that you all, I'll share this with the chair in an email, that you all and all of your board members and all of your community members who attend these meetings to join us at the State of the People on March 4th. It'll be going on from 10 a.m. to the 7th. A really, really unique opportunity here. Second, and just I have one more quick announcement. Just on COVID and the data and vaccines. There are places in Harlem and all across the city, Manhattan, that don't have vaccine equity. I know the community health centers. I led a community health effort, town hall under the public advocate. So Borica and everyone, not having access to these vaccines, if they have the training and networks. So the public advocate really has been pushing all along. I think something's going to come out tomorrow, but pushing around this data and what we do know, what's unacceptable, and how do we hold accountable to the lack of vaccine access for Black and Brown members of our community. So just we're pushing on that publicly and behind the scenes, the public advocate, et cetera. And so I close by here a really important announcement is I do think in COVID, we've understood that our health, our education, our finance, our entertainment, our communication is all underpinned by technology. And what we've realized is in this summer and in this that the NYPD has using facial recognition, technology and surveillance tools that don't work for Black and Brown people. For Black people and dark-skinned people, dark-skinned Latinos, 90 of 100 times they use it, the error rate is huge. And we've seen it in other parts of the country. And so when we think about public safety, we've got to think about the technology and the lack of oversight for NYPD. And so we launched with Amnesty International and local advocates a Ban the Scan campaign. I'll post it really here as you leave. It's really a call to ban facial recognition in the city council, but also looking at Brad Hoylman's bill S79 to put a moratorium on this, to stop it and take a look at what we need to do to limit this. And so it's an opportunity to understand how technology and policing for folks who are already getting policed, it's impacted. So I thank you for your time on that. Let me post that for you, this Ban the Scan campaign. The public advocate announced that 2 weeks ago with Amnesty International and Brad Hoylman and other advocates. It's the intro for us looking at the ways that technology and systemic racism impact folks. So I think it's an opportunity for all of us to learn in this world where technology is impacting us. How is it impacting your opportunities or your kids' opportunities? How is it biased and so forth? And what can we do to push back on our government using some of these tools, right? And so I thank you for your time and everything. Let me post that link for you. You can see the 5-minute video that explains some of the human costs of these issues. I'll post it, right. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Philip. Andrew, did you have a question for him or an announcement? Andrew?
I'm so sorry. Yeah, I'm really appreciative of the comments. This was a separate announcement as mentioned by David.
Okay, all right. I don't see any other hands then for questions for Philip. So let's move on. Thank you very much for attending and hanging in with us. Give our regards to the public advocate. Andrew, your announcement.
Very quickly, as David mentioned, there is a very important center in East Harlem that we're at risk of losing, the Centro for Estudio Puertorriqueño, Center for Puerto Rican Studies at CUNY. It was based for a long while at 68th Street, but when Silberman built its School of Social Work on 119th and 3rd, one of the community givebacks they promised was this center. Once the center moved in, the CUNY system unfortunately kind of screwed them on funding, and so they were actually required to pay more than they thought. So they started at a deficit here. They're in a leadership shift right now, and there's concern that they could be consolidated and that they could be lost. And it's one of the few centers for Puerto Rican studies in the country, and it has a repository for so much of Puerto Rico's history and the history of our diaspora. So I just want to highlight that center is in real danger of severe cuts or being consolidated altogether. So folks are trying to push CUNY to make sure they get out their search for a director nationwide, that they do their interim director appointment, and that the search nationwide be rooted in community. They're going to be asking at some point for community to weigh in, and so we're hoping that at some point someone from that organizing committee could come into education and talk to the committee and let them know, and let our broader community board know how we can help to try and keep this asset here. Because again, when Silberman came to 119th and 3rd, one of the things that they told the folks in this district was that, oh well, you know, we're going to build this building here and have this school here, but this is going to benefit you because Centro is going to be here. And the city and the state haven't done their end, so we're going to try and make sure that they do. And I know that folks at Centro, the folks who are organizing around this, would love to have our community boards.
Thank you very much, Andrew, and for spreading the word and advocating. Jessica, did you have a question or announcement?
I do. I have two questions for Andrew. One is the center committed to CUNY and maintaining its real estate space within Silberman? And two, can you circulate if there is a call for either the interim position or otherwise? I'm happy to push that through networks.
Appreciate your interest and support. As of right now, a lot is in the air and a lot is changing day by day. I mean, it's another thing that's waiting for the city and state's budget shoe to drop, right? And the Fed. Everyone's trying to figure out what the landscape's going to be, and that's also going to affect the autonomy the city and state feel that they want to allow. Luckily, there are allies for this center. It's been around since '73. It's a product of the social movements that came through this neighborhood, the Young Lords and such. So, you know, there's a lot of ties here, but those details will be becoming apparent in the next few weeks and months. And hopefully someone from there can come to Education Committee or maybe our broader community board and let us
Can,
know.
can, can,
When I
can I make
when
a
have something to share, I will.
recommendation?
But
We
yeah,
recommend that we should speak to the president of the college because she's the one that made the commitment. She was here for the opening and she made that commitment again to us, saying that these people are going to remain in this facility. So we should hold her accountable. So we should probably reach out to her.
At some point, it would be, yeah, it would be great to have, you know, those stakeholders who did make those promises. Because, you know, board members, David immediately, when I mentioned this at education, David immediately was like, I remember they promised this to us. And now you're saying the same thing. So
what I would recommend then, real quick, is to have Andrew, Carlos, and David, you know, because this would fall under youth and education. We need to capture that institutional knowledge and make sure that we could take a course of action. So please take that to the committee. And I think that's a great idea. Thank you for chiming in on that, Carlos, because a lot of people would not have recalled that straight away. So please bring that to youth and education.
Sure.
Thank you, Carlos.
Agenda at the next meeting and.
Xavier, I'm sorry, real quick, John Green would like to say something. He doesn't have the ability to raise his hand, so I just.
Okay, thank you. Yes, of course. Thank you, Marissa. Real quick, so we can finish the meeting. John, can you unmute?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Xavier.
Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. First of all, praise God, we're finishing before 11 o'clock. Second of all, I would like to congratulate Jada Heredia. She was on a television show being interviewed by Gail Brewer. The name of the show was Represent NYC, and I believe it's going to be rebroadcast tomorrow night on Manhattan Neighborhood Network. And also, lastly, I just want to thank the office staff, the Marlene, Carly, and Angel. They do a hell of a job in everything that they do. That's all I have to say.
Good job.
Thank you. All
Motion
right.
to adjourn.
Xavier, can I just say one thing really quick?
Yes.
For the sports fans in the room, if anyone still exists, the Knicks are good again, and I encourage you to vote for Julius Randle for the All-Star game.
Consider it done.
It's a worthy announcement.
Amen.
All right, so we're gonna conclude the same way we started. I just need one person to move to adjourn by unanimous consent. That's all I need. And then
Adjourn by unanimous consent.
Who is that?
Andrew.
Padilla. All right, and raise your hand if there are any objections. That means you got to lower your hand unless you want to stay here. Okay, I see no hands. All right, the motion carries. Have a good night, everyone. See you next full board meeting, Tuesday, March 23rd, 2021.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Night.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.